across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, there is one word, isn't there? Absolutely shameless. Well, that's two words, but shameless, the way the British government no longer cares about what people think of it. Shameless, the sucking up to China. Shameless, the way that you are leaking market-sensitive information to a known paedophile. Shameless, that you are taking your daughter to visit said sex offender 5 days after he was released from prison. Shameless that your partner is on £4,000 a month so you can leak information about the Prime Minister stepping down. Nobody gives a toss about the reputation of this country. Nobody gives a toss about you. Nobody cares that your wages are going down. Nobody cares that you're struggling. Nobody cares that the education is dreadful. Did you see that programme the other day that was on YouTube where Tommy Robinson's walking around with a mix? You know what a mix is? A 6'4" hairy bloke teaching in schools, and if you call he, she, it Mr., then you get into trouble. Your parents are brought in and you're stuck on the prevent scheme.
MX, is that one of the new ones?
MX, yeah, just dreadful.
Dreadful. We need to keep up with
dreadful.
These things.
I mean, in my day, there were certain bars you could go to if you're into that. It wasn't generally done at school.
Was Nightingale's in Birmingham?
I find the whole thing just dreadfully, dreadfully sad. And what about this? Pathetic. Lord Manderson, I didn't remember. You don't remember 75 grand, do you? Because
just check your bank statements.
Because I know some pretty rich people, and I guarantee you nobody receives 75 grand in their bank account and doesn't notice, right? There's just nobody, doesn't matter whether you're a millionaire, billionaire or anything in between. And as far as this goes, I thought Dan Needle, the tax lawyer, was absolutely right. And let me just repeat what he said on Channel 4 News. Now, he's an old lefty. I knew him a few years ago in debating, but I think he made a reasonable point. He said, look, if I go to the pub with my friends, I will offer to buy a round and they will take the drink and have it. And then they know that one of the other ones offers to buy a round. And that is the rule of buying a round. Everybody knows it. Nobody sits there with a contract saying, here are the rules.
It's like the unwritten, like the Magna Carta.
Precisely. Yes, it's exactly...
Well, that's written, actually.
Yeah, so it's the unspoken things that sit behind the Magna Carta. But yes, nowhere will it be written down, pay Ronaldo £4 a month for doing absolutely nothing, and I will leak you confidential government information.
The husband, not the footballer.
Yeah,
the husband. Don't
okay.
Get £4's nothing to Ronaldo.
So let's say this politely. How do we say this politely? The partner of Peter Mandelson has an expertise in meeting older gents, right? and he moves to the United Kingdom. He's learning to be an osteopath.
He's really good with the old geezer.
He's you know, what's he learning? Massage or whatever, paid for by Jeffrey Epstein, who's got a level of expertise, to be fair. But let me just make this clear. This person is not really a serious person. How many of you get 75 grand plus £4,000 a month for doing nothing at all for a hedge fund in New York? How many of you have got a hedge fund on speed dial? How many of you know somebody from a hedge fund? Almost nobody. I guarantee you, if you walk into a hedge fund in Mayfair and ask them to give you £4,000 a month, they are not going to do it. And as far as, can your hedge fund loan me the money to learn to be an osteopath? Garbage. The reality is, Dan Needle was right. There is an unspoken rule, which is if you tickle financially Peter Mandelson, he will break every rule under the book. Now, we've sat here, and Asher and I have done it loads of times, criticised Gordon Brown. He sold gold at the lowest possible value.
And announced it before, which made it even worse.
But let's just be clear. What we've also seen, I'm not saying this has got anything to do with the gold announcements, we now know that under the Gordon Brown government, Peter Mandelson was leaking information about asset sales to Jeffrey Epstein and God knows who else. Is it possible that they had to announce the gold reserve sale because Peter Mandelson leaked it? I don't know. But if these assets melted in value, figuratively and literally, because of Peter Mandelson's leak, then the £4,000 a month to Ronaldo de Silva has cost you, each and every one of you, thousands and thousands of pounds a year in tax. Thousands. The bill for Ronaldo. The bill for... Do you know what we should do with Ronaldo? Throw him out of the country, right? Because what he has done is he has committed, as far as I'm concerned, allegedly. Let's say allegedly. Well,
there's going to be investigations, but if something like, obviously, insider trading is illegal and also giving away government secrets is pretty serious.
A man, Jeffrey...
Obviously alleged.
Jeffrey Epstein is trading in stock, is trading in currency, is trading in futures that are affected by what the British government does. And for £4,000 a month to a masseuse from Rio de Janeiro, you can find out all of them. Forget your special branch, forget your guards on the gate, forget your MI5. We've got Mandelson and whatever he picked up in a bar in Rio. That's what we've got. I find it absolutely despicable. Don't you dare come on and say this is a gay thing. It's got nothing to do with it.
Reminds me of the Lord Ali spectacles and suit thing, doesn't it? Buying little trinkets. You know, I'm sure there's other things happening. I'm sure Mandelson made a lot more than 75 grand with his friendship with Epstein. Can you imagine? That's just a little sweetener.
Can you imagine? We've spent £5 billion on security services, and then we've got Mandelson email account and Ronaldo de Silva and £4 a month. No, it's just a disgrace. I honestly... If there is no law that Mandelson has broken, then we should put a law on the statute book and, for the first time in British history, prosecute him retrospectively.
Yeah, but what about the elephant in the room? Starmer knew all about it, knew all about him going and staying in paedophile Jeffrey Epstein's townhouse. He was very good mates. He knew he was very good mates, and then he makes him ambassador in the States. Starmer is he going to be gone by the end of the week?
One would hope so. What about Sarah Ferguson? Hey, I'll take... Now, look... Those of you who are parents to daughters, think about this one. Just think about it. Right. So, one of your friends gets thrown in prison for being a child sex offender. Right. What you do is you contact him in prison and say, when you get released, me and my teenage daughters are going to come and visit you, gas up the plane, which is known as the Lolita Express, right? And we'll get on board. Now, you don't have to be an expert in Russian literature to get the reference to the Lolita Express. Look, I'll tell you what.
But she knew they were too old for him. They were 20 and 19. Well,
That's
far too mature.
I'll tell you what, let's fly my two daughters to Paedophile Island on the Lolita Express. Or what most of you would say is, no, that sounds like the worst idea ever, right? I mean, there are basic standards, I get a bit annoyed when Robbie gets a bit drunk on the Saturday nights. It's not the same as one of my friends is a child rapist and is in prison. Oh, let's go take the daughters. Oh, let's have a weekend away. Yeah. If somebody said to you, would you like to enjoy a weekend of child sex on Paedophile Island? You'd say no. You wouldn't say give Ronaldo £4,000 and it'd be all right.
Mandelson stayed in his townhouse while he was in Chokey and was contacting him.
The whole thing.
We've got a little clip, actually, of Keir Starmer. He spoke about how sorry he was for believing Lord Mandelson. Yeah, let's have a look at that.
I want to say this. I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him. And sorry that even now you're forced to watch this story unfold in public once again.
Alex Dyke is a former BBC broadcaster. I mean, look, you know what? Before we started this show, we were going to make a bit of a joke about the fact you've been away. But actually, now I think about it...
On holiday, by the way.
No islands.
What we did with Alex Dyke was he was in prison, but we decided to send him... No, we're joking.
Mind you, he has got a place on an island.
Yeah, very near Parkhurst, actually.
Suspicious. Anyway, how's it been? You've been away for a couple of weeks, and you thought, well, nothing's going to have happened while I'm away.
Well, yeah, and I can talk about that later on. I'm happy to talk about that, and happy to talk about how the Americans are talking about.
Oh, that's a good point.
And all of that. But I just want to say, I was glued to every word you said in your monologue at the beginning. It was brilliant. But I had a friend.
Oh, come on, let's not do this. He works at the BBC, everyone. Come on, no, sorry, go on.
I had a friend who I worked with in radio who I've been very close to, and then we found out that he was downloading child images.
Yes.
He was quite rightly arrested. He brought shame on his family, shame on the radio station, and he went to prison.
Correct, quite right.
He was released from prison, and he rang me up and said, look, I'm coming out. It's all lies. Everything that's been in the papers is lies. And I said to him, I said, look, I've read the papers, and it says that veteran police officers were sickened by the images that you downloaded.
Yes.
This man said exactly the same as Gary Glisser when he was arrested. Yes. When they get my computer back, when they bring it back to me, they will there was no illegal images, indecent images on there. He said exactly the same thing. So he rang me up and he said, look, it's all lies. Can I come round for a cup of coffee? And I said, no, you're a convicted paedophile. Please don't ever ring me again.
Yes.
We are no longer friends.
Yes.
And he's tried 3 times in the last 20 years reaching out to me with emails, which I've ignored. Facebook friends, which I've ignored, because he's overstepped the line.
Yeah, now look, if you are looking, there are some things that are an absolute liability. That is to say that I saw a case of a guy who opened an email that had been sent to him unsolicited and got into a little bit of trouble because he didn't tell the police about it. Okay, fine. But that is where they go, well, you're technically guilty. So you don't go to prison for category A child pornography if you did it accidentally.
And these are never...
You don't normally go to prison if you ask Hugh Edwards.
Well, these are never 1 or 2 images.
No.
There's always 1,300 or 1,500 images. So if you are Prince Andrew, Mandelson, anyone, once you know that Fergie, once you know that person is a convicted paedophile, isn't it just common sense? Forget about the politics and it's the royal family. Isn't it common sense that you cut yourself away from that person?
No.
Of course, but our PM as well should be saying he shouldn't be ambassador. That's where it really matters. Even, I mean, the royals, we know what idiocy. But this is our prime minister allowing this.
But if I can use a rude word now,
prime minister.
If I can use a rude word now, how bad would it have to be for them to give a shit, right? And I ask that as a serious question because what we are now saying is, I will, for £4,000 a month, sell British government secrets. That's effectively the allegation. I will bring my teenage daughter to a paedophile's island 5 days after he comes out of prison, just as long as you keep paying. What is it? What is it amongst the establishment that where's the line? So the line is there's no line on bribery. Not worried about that. There's no line on inappropriate relationships. There's no line on hanging around with a sex offender. There's no
on harm to innocent people. They don't care about innocent people.
If I was to phone Andrew Mountbatten Windsor now and say, what would you do for £100,000? What would be on the list of things he wouldn't do? What would it be? Well, how big? The Mandelson list of things. Hey, mate, I wouldn't even do that for £1 million. How big's that list? I bet that list has got nothing on it.
Well, I just can't see. These are intelligent people. These are people that have had the privilege of the best education, some of the best upbringings, more attention than we ever would have got when we were growing up, but they just don't seem to have any common sense.
They get drunk on the power and they can get away with a little bit and then they get away. And if you look at that Kubrick film, Eyes Wide Shut, you know, he was actually talking about these sort of societies with very powerful and elite people do these strange ceremonies, and when it went out to directors, he was dead 5 days later. So I mean, it's a conspiracy theory, but they do get a bit strange in all their power and perverted, and it happens across all levels of you've got Putin emailing Epstein and emailing Mandelson.
I totally disagree. I think, and you might be right, by the way, but my instinct is that you're not. And I'll tell you why. I think the reason that Sarah Ferguson takes her 2 daughters to see Jeffrey Epstein 5 days after he's released from prison is just to reassure him that as long as the money keeps flowing, they'll turn a blind eye to anything he's done.
Well, maybe she was in so deep financially, she thought, I don't want to go, but I'm going to have to go. But the other thing about Epstein is, which I keep thinking...
No, it's to prove, don't worry, I still trust you, because you're keeping the money flow.
It's also, I'm still here for you, I've got the contacts, keep the money coming, let's start again.
When the email goes to him, which says, hey, can you pay for my web hosting? Well, I mean, web hosting's not a great deal of money. Yeah, I'll pay for it. And you know, the whole Prince Andrew, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, when he goes, well... It was unbecoming. Unbecoming, he raped a child. Okay, well, that's. I mean, I think it's unbecoming in addition to other things. But okay, but then he basically says, I cut contact with him then. I'm so honourable that I wanted to do it in person. Right, okay, fine. Well, you don't have to do that. But anyway, 2 days later, he sends an email going, hey, I'm trying to raise 200 million for a venture capital project. Can you help?
Did you see one of those emails? Said, it's time to make this all about me before I give myself back to the world and they take. I'm thinking, you've always made it about you. You know, you've been a spoiled brat all your life. But what gets me about the Epstein thing, guys, and every time I see a news clip, I think, how can you have that much power? If I said to you, look, I'm a millionaire, I'm a billionaire, I've got an island, you can come and have as much sex as you want, drink as much, have as many drugs, I'll jet you in and jet you out.
No, that sounds fine. It was the child sex element we'd have done that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I thought he was making an offer.
But you would say, do you know what? I don't think I'm going to risk it. Most people would.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think I don't like the rest is politics because I think that they're uppity. But I did think that that what's his name made a good point. The Labour spin doctor from Burnley, Alistair Campbell. I thought he made a reasonable point when he said, "I've never assumed that rich people are moral. I've never assumed they're not, but I've always thought they're probably just to say. I mean,
they're more likely to be immoral than the powerful rich.
But you're talking about being really immoral.
No, but for Jeffrey Epstein, for Jeffrey Epstein, giving $4,000 a month to somebody, it's like you or I flipping a penny to a beggar, right? Oh, by the way, before we go to a break, I've got to tell you the funniest story ever.
Well, can't you tell us after the break?
Yes, we can.
We're going to hear a really funny story from Andre. It's Andre and Ash, and we're with Alex Dyke. It's Talk. Give us a ring, 0344 499 1000. Back in a jiffy.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, let me tell you the story. This is Andre Walker.
This is Andre's funny story.
Andre's funny stories, right. Downstairs, so basically, we are the upper floors of the Jubilee Line station at London Bridge. I think most people know that. This building is here because they had to knock everything down and then build it when the Shard got built and whatever. Okay, so our local shop is in the railway arches of London Bridge. So I went down there because I was meeting Sean Cronin, the bad guy from the Bond films and whatever.
Sean Connery.
Who's directing a new film about Michael Watson, which I'm in, which I mentioned before.
Plays Gary Newbond.
Yeah, Gary Newbond. But anyway, by the way, I'm not even remotely like him. I think he's a terrible interviewer. So I did it better than him.
He used to work here. Apparently, Gary. Lovely. Hello, Gary.
Apparently, he'll be outraged because he's no longer from Northampton. He now gets into fight fights with his guests. He shouts abuse at them. It's a very different performance to there is an actual fight with me and Chris Eubank as Gary Newbon. That didn't happen in real life. Anyway, so I went downstairs and Sean wants to buy a packet of cigarettes. I wouldn't recommend you do that, but he did it.
Yeah.
And basically there was this guy in the shop having a big argument with people about the amount of money he was being paid by the shopkeeper. So I went, oh. So the bloke leaves and I went, what was that all about? And the shopkeeper's assistant said, oh, this guy's absolutely awful. What he does is he begs on Tooley Street and asks people, he says he's so hungry that can they buy him some snacks from the shop? Then what he does is when they buy the snacks, he goes out, waits for 2 minutes, comes back in and sells the snacks back to the shop. Right, for half what they cost. Right, so basically, all day comes in going, I'll have that, yeah, that's £5. The bloke pays for it, and then he comes back and sells them for £2.50.
So the shopkeeper's in on it?
Yeah, so the shopkeeper goes, we don't really like him, but to be fair, all we do is lose the item for about 5 minutes, then it comes back and we get it for half the price. Great. Okay. Just as we were saying that, this really uppity lefty walks in and goes, just have anything you want, it's fine. And this bloke, just seconds after we'd been told, is going, oh, can I have some biscuits as well? They're going, yeah, just have as much as you want. And this bloke got about 40 quid's worth of stuff.
Silly lefty,
and I just went,
silly.
Went, oh my God, it's actually happening in front of me. And this guy who was paying, give me the filthiest look you've ever seen, as if to say, you've got no compassion for this man. He's starving on the street.
But
unbelievable.
Isn't the shopkeeper a bit crazy to be in on it? Because if
money spinner.
What's he in on?
Right, so he's bought a packet of biscuits. He takes them out.
Yep.
Right, they're second-hand biscuits. I know he hasn't eaten any, but he could have turned them to crumbs.
Yeah,
or he brings them in with his filthy hands.
It's a good point.
Puts it back. I don't want to buy biscuits that.
You don't know. What you don't know, he won't harm you.
All right, but hang on a second, right? I mean, people who own railway arch cigarette shops, right? I mean, they're not running the highest standard operations in the world, are they?
No, but I think you should report him to the authorities.
Well, report it for what?
For dealing in dirty goods.
It's technically legal, isn't it? He hasn't broken
It's what
the
Jeffrey
law.
Epstein likes to call burly legal.
It's a loophole.
I think it's horrible. I think it's a great story, but I think it's horrible.
Not a traditional subject for comedy, in the words of Ricky Gervais. But okay. Look, so is this the biggest scandal in 100 years in British politics, Peter Mandelson?
Well, I think it's got to go some to be bigger than Andrew, hasn't it? I mean, I think that is the biggest of the biggest of the biggest. But
no, I don't think it is.
No, because this leads to political intrigue, and this is going to uncover more and more stories about our bent government.
But this may be a more important story, but I think the biggest story, because everyone can have an opinion about Andrew. You know, whether you're an 11-year-old kid or a 98-year-old granny, you'll be talking about Andrew. Whereas this other one, with Mandelson, it could be a lot more dangerous and could be a bigger, more important story. But I just don't think.
But I think it's leading to Starmer. That's the big story.
But
the
you are
Mandelson
investing.
Right, so which one's the front page then?
Well, in this country, I think in America, maybe like you said, probably Andy, although like you say, Clinton in America.
If you are investing in the United Kingdom, and you discover 8 hours before the resignation of the British Prime Minister that the British Prime Minister is going to resign, you are going to make a ton of money. Now, is it insider trading if it's British government secrets? I don't know. But let's just be clear. You know, Ronaldo got £4,000 and the British taxpayer got hosed for billions. That's the reality.
And you look at how they, you know, when Liz Truss was got rid of and Rishi Sunak was put in against even their own party's people, and you look at these links and you think, well, there's things in the background of WEF. Everyone in the elite is now working against democracy, aren't they? There's basically been coups all over the world, and now they've linked up and they've got the power, and hopefully we can undo it. Luckily, America are far ahead of the game. We've got 3 years left of this.
But Andre's closer. I mean, you'd know a lot more than us because you've been on the inside. You've seen the workings in Parliament.
In that case, let me tell you this. Conflict of interest is one of the most toxic things in politics, right? So when I used to go in, when I was a House of Commons advisor, you would walk into your boss and you would say, right, here is the issue. You've got 5 possible options and you lay out whichever ones they are, right? And normally the person goes, well, hang on, can't we have a bit of the first one and a bit of the third one? And you go, yeah, that's a better idea. Now, if that person does not know that option 5 is in my financial interest, the system collapses for fairly obvious reasons. Because if I say as an example, who should we get on the show on Thursday night, Asher? Let's get Alex Dyke. And the reason we're getting Alex Dyke is not because you're good, but because you pay us to come on, as an example. Then the advice Asher's giving me about having you on, that is flawed advice. It's not. I'm not acting in my interest.
But that is why we get him on.
But just to be clear, I'm making up that example. But it can get really, really serious. I mean, you know, it then raises the question: if you say to Jeffrey Epstein, whatever it is, don't worry, I've got Gordon Brown to resign. You know, that does suggest maybe there was an email earlier or a discussion earlier that said, listen, I'm in for a fortune if you can get Brown out today. I've got a short position or whatever it is, I can make $1 billion.
I think that's what happened with Sunak. I mean, he was the Goldman Sachs man. Do you remember all over the States, and everyone was that Mark, what's his name now, Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. These are all ex-Goldman Sachs. There's bankers in on it, and the elites at the top are all linked up and are sort of determining what happens in these places, and this is why we're in the terrible positions we are.
If you're right, politics is much, much darker than most of us ever thought. I mean, maybe we've got the tip of the iceberg, and maybe this is going to go a lot deeper. And as the more stuff comes out from the Epstein files, the more these people's foundations will shake.
But the classic example of being conflicted is this, right? As an example, the Russian state had bought a communication system to be used in the field for their military. The system did not work, but the people responsible for buying the system, because they were being paid by the supplier, did not tell the Kremlin. And so when Russia invaded Ukraine, their entire communication system was compromised by GCHQ in London because they had to use mobile phones. Now, what has happened there? What has happened is the person who is signing off the contract has not signed it on the basis that the system works. He signed it on the basis that he's being paid by the people that supplied it to pretend it works. So now there is a governmental decision. We have an operational capability to invade Ukraine that they do not have. And that's why they lost the war in the first 4 days. It was one of the reasons.
Our procurement, I remember reading about, we bought 50 Apache helicopters from the States, and we thought we know better than them. We took out the engine to the software, they didn't work, and in the end that was cost billions of pounds waste. And this goes across all, and people are making money in this military-industrial complex. Anyway, we've got to do another little break here, have we? Okay, so we're going to keep listening, because what we're going to throw out as a little
the next thing is,
write a letter. That looks like it's Ken.
I've only ever had one other letter, and do you know what the other letter was? No. Somebody wrote to me going, "Hello, Andre. My understanding is that you know Patrick Christie's from GB News. Can you get me his autograph? He's brilliant."
And the other one looks like it's from Ken. So
why would you send that? Yeah. Why not send it to GB News?
Yeah, ridiculous. Anyway, Alex Dyke's on with us. He's got a lot to say. He's been in the States 2 weeks, so we'll be hearing more about that. But it's me and Andre on talk. 03444991000. We'll be going through the papers and doing all your calls.
Oh, by the way, I don't know why Heather Sewell is so angry, but
I have wasting my time calling you all and not getting on talk. Let's get her on.
No, we can't. Look, it's that thing I'm moaning about. Clear some calls. Right, Heather Sewell, phone now.
Yeah, okay. We'll be back with Heather, maybe.
Look that lazy. Look that lazy. He's not even listening. Look, he's doing it now. Right, no, stop, everyone. Stop. Right, let me explain what happens. There are 3 pinch points within the system. There's the telephone exchange, don't worry about that. The Chinese have not compromised it this week. Then you've got the building, so we've got all the lines into the building. In front of us, there are only 10 phone lines. So that means that lazy git, have a look at me, that lazy thing, right, you can't get through to him if there are 10 calls lined up. So when he got into the office today, rather than delete the 10 calls from the Ian Collins show, he left them all on the system. So if you have phoned this show in the past 31 minutes and 50 seconds, you couldn't get through, Heather, could you? And then when we started talking, he deleted all of it. That is one lazy...
That's sort of like Mandelson sort of thing, isn't it?
And also, he's turning into you.
Yeah, look at him. Well, that's quite good. I do influence a lot of people. Yeah, it's true. Anyway, it's Talk Andre and Ash with Alex, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Just don't look for the Hunter Biden photos. That you'll have to throw your phone in the Thames. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Don't worry about the Hunter Biden photos from his laptop. But just don't Google them, because that will result in your laptop having to go in the local river before the police knock on your door. Allegedly, nonce. Allegedly. Okay, so let's have a look at these two letters. What are they?
Play the letter opening jingle.
Come on.
Faster.
Okay. Right. Well, this is not very good. Look, let's try and make some noise here. Oh shit. Okay. I've destroyed it. I've destroyed.
Check.
You are loved.
It's Ken, isn't it?
This is from Ken in London. Ken, I'm very sorry. I have slightly destroyed the letter, but it is there, and I will.
It's a prayer from the Kingdom Headway Ministries praying with you. There's a meeting.
So it's not a check.
No. Where's the check, Ken?
Okay, so we're sorry about that. But anyway, what about this one? So that is the second letter. Actually, I think Ken has written something before. Here is the third one. Let's see. Let's hope it's not Hunter Biden's photograph collection. Oh, look at this. The Right Honourable Sir Conor Burns and Sir Mark Thatcher have invited you to a lunch at the Rule of Law Institute on Wednesday, the 4th of February.
Oh, you've missed it.
Oh, that is so
would have been
bad.
good, though.
That is so bad. That is so
At the
bad.
Institute. Oh, yeah.
Let me say very sorry to Sir Mark Thatcher. And
He probably wouldn't. He could have got lost on the way anyway. He won't be there, will he? So.
What I will do is I will email them and tell them they've got my wrong address. But that is almost as bad as the story that I once heard from a friend. I've told this story on the show before. A friend of mine went off to the Far East to go on a long tour for a couple of months. She took some time off work, right? So this happened in like the March, and she goes. She's in Beijing, and she gets a little purse stolen with about $5 in it. And the Chinese guys at the hotel reception say to her, "Listen, you really need to report this crime to the tourist police." She goes, "Oh, it's only a $5. It was only a plastic purse. I've left my proper one in the hotel anyway." So she reports it, and they take a statement, and it all seems quite serious, but she's not bothered. So 3 months later, she gets, and this is critical, 3 months later, she gets back to Britain. And waiting for it is a letter from the People's Republic of China. And she opens it, and it says, "Dear Ms. Jones, the People's Republic of China is proud to announce that Mr. Liu Xiaoping of Beijing has been prosecuted and sentenced to death for the theft of your purse.
No.
Under Chinese law, you can appeal for this to be life imprisonment within 30 days of the ruling." That was 3 months ago. So she phoned the embassy. She phoned the embassy, and she was too late.
Can't be
She was on holiday. It's so bad. No, honestly, I'm really sorry. But she had 30.
You don't seem very
She
sorry.
had 30 days for it to be commuted to life imprisonment, but she didn't get back for 90 days. So she phoned them, and they said, "Look, we're very sorry, but you never got back to us." That is awful.
That's dreadful.
Just to be clear, I'm laughing with embarrassment.
He's laughing with
that is awful.
with anger.
That is horrendous. That is. I mean, it's just the problem is with. Do you know why I think that story's? It's just because nobody cares about a £5 purse.
Yeah.
And also, she said the worst bit about it was he was probably just a political dissident they just picked up, right? He probably hadn't done anything wrong.
Wow.
Horrendous.
That's outrageous.
Well, that is what's going on in the world, and this is who our government are kowtowing to.
And by the way,
Starmer over
before-
there. They treated him like a fool. They didn't even shut the square, which they did for Macron, and let him walk with public people, and it was just some little dignitary walking
Before
around.
people complain, just to be clear, that is a story about how ludicrous the Chinese judicial system is. It is not venerating the killing of a political dissident. Let's just be clear. I think people who sit in this seat very clearly do not support that.
I've got a question for you guys.
No,
so
shoot.
I've been away for a couple of weeks, right?
All right,
And
stop labouring the point.
I decided that I wouldn't put the TV news on. I would have a break. I'd have a holiday.
Kick
So
up.
when I was watching the TV, I was watching old reruns of Johnny Carson and Chuck Connors in The Rifleman. I was watching some westerns. I just wanted to unload and relax. But of course, stuff.
What, and you can unload to a Western?
Oh, please.
Hey!
But well, of course, my phone's going off, and I'm trying not to look at it because I want to get away.
Expert.
But I did see the photographs of Andrew come through.
Oh.
Right? And I thought, how is this playing out? Because it didn't get a lot of coverage, because then I did go to the news channels. It wasn't getting an awful lot of coverage in California where I was. I thought, how is this playing out in Britain? Because I looked at those pictures, and of course, the person, probably a girl, probably a young teenage girl, her face is blacked out. In one picture, and I'm sure you know the one I mean, he looks a bit like a rabid dog, I think.
No.
Over the top of her on all fours. Yeah.
And
some people saying she looks unconscious. Well, you can't.
Well,
tell
that's
that.
what I thought.
Yeah.
I said to.
And how old is she? She looks small as well.
I thought.
Well, so those are my questions. One is there was something about her body, and I know you couldn't tell. She or he, but probably she looked unconscious, and the other one, she was about 11 or 12.
I thought that they deliberately. So obviously they have to anonymise this. I thought they hid the face, but not the body, to show the size of the person for whatever reason. I don't know. Someone's redacted more than people don't know. I mean, obviously, Jeffrey Epstein.
It's on the screen if you're watching.
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein. What do you call it? Deliberately took photos and videos of lots of people and clearly was a blackmailer, at least to an extent. I think it's always quite difficult. I say it's like Vito Corleone. Do you remember when he says you can have your signature or your brains on the contract? I think we forget. I think a lot of blackmail is also a carrot and stick approach, which is, hey, we've been together for a long time now. You know I know all your secrets, but just work with me. I'll give you a couple of quid. I mean, I think I said... Asher and I said this, and look, I know because Asher and I have a bit of a joke with people. People think that some of the other shows are more serious, but we said weeks ago, this could well turn into, and probably will turn into, an issue of sale of government secrets. And that is exactly.
I think it's built. It's snowballing,
exactly what it's turned into.
But it is getting worse and worse and worse. And I would imagine that someone knew that photo, and God knows what else is on the way. There's nothing sexual about that photo. In a way, it looks like he could be administering first aid.
Well, he's sweating, which is I don't think anybody.
But
I can't sweat.
It's still so sinister. It looks so sinister. Now, if that was anyone else, you'd think, well, I can explain this. My wife, my children were there. This child had fainted. They asked me to resuscitate, and I'm going to get my wife and my children to come here now and tell you, just to clear my name. And that's what any father would do. But I don't know. That is so sinister.
They were his daughters.
No, I know. But you'd think that.
Although they could be.
Oh, controversial.
No. On the serious note, we actually don't know who the female is, and he does have two daughters. So,
but
I don't think it is.
But if someone had fallen over and hit their head and cracked their head open, and he was there making sure they're okay, why is someone taking a photograph of him?
Well, I don't think that's what happened.
I mean,
No,
I think it's become very, very clear, the Jeffrey Epstein story, isn't it? He's a professional intelligence officer. Professional intelligence officer who leaves the intelligence service for whatever reason. He's an expert on information arbitrage. He sets up this hedge fund in order to use government information to make a profit for his investors. And now, it's not unusual for somebody to go from zero to billionaire if you're a hedge fund boss. I've got a friend who's a hedge fund boss. He earns $150,000 when he worked at IBM. He invented an algorithm to trade capital markets better than humans, and his pay the following year was $150 million. It's not that unusual. But he's an expert. He's an expert on networking. He's an expert on government information, and he's an expert on using that information for financial gain. And what we are talking about here is that these people are lining up to give him information.
I know.
Which is being used for market advantage and his hedge fund. He's mates with Vladimir Putin as well. Now, you ain't going to take Vladimir Putin and get a video of him with a young girl. That guy is also an intelligence officer, and he'll see that coming a mile off. But the rest of them... They are so relaxed in his company. Here I am doing something I shouldn't be doing, but yeah, get your Polaroid out. I don't
because
understand
they've been getting away with it for decades.
Yeah, maybe.
The problem. I mean, I think the big question is, who was he an intelligence officer for? And I think it is slightly unfair to blame Mossad. Although I did it on my YouTube, on reflection, I thought, well, actually, what is his connection to Israel? He's just a Jew, right? He doesn't have any particular...
I think more likely CIA. I mean, people were talking about Russians, but I don't think he'd get away with it in the States unless it was CIA.
He's definitely not a Russian intelligence officer. I'll tell you why. Because he's got no connection with Russia in that sense. But what they will have done is they'll have identified him as a person of interest, and they'll have said, look, let's work with him. But remember, when you have a corrupt oligarchy like Russia, they are able to trade illicitly, and they need people to trade illicitly. There are things like Russian government bonds, which Vladimir Putin can pick up the phone and go, "Hey, make sure you buy these ones because they're about to heave up in value because we're about to announce a new Russian pipeline in Siberia, oil pipeline in Siberia." If when you're trading futures, when you're trading commodities, knowledge of the market in advance is hugely important. I don't think you'd get that level of work with people and that level of networking and that level of information gathering if he were not professionally trained.
No, but in America, funnily enough, this week it was over there, it was Epstein, but it was all about people like Clinton. They weren't doing much on Andrew at all, and that surprised me because the royal family are so big. Maybe America loves the royal family so much.
No.
Andrew's slipped down the pecking order a bit.
I'm not sure that's right, actually. So I've thought about this. Once again, this comes with the big caveat. You may well be right, as I said to Asha before, because I don't necessarily know. I think the point that was made by Virginia Roberts Giuffre's brother was right. It's very clear that Britain takes this seriously and the United States of America does not take it seriously. So you are looking at the only three people to be in trouble are Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell and Peter Mandelson. Pretty much the only three Brits that Jeffrey Epstein regularly and perhaps Sarah Ferguson.
And do you think that's at the moment, or do you think that's as far as it goes?
I think the problem is very simple. When they discovered that Donald Trump was not a paedophile, they ignored everything else. That is the reality. That is the reality. Virginia Roberts Giuffre's book would have been 50 times bigger had it not said Donald Trump threw Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a sex offender. Had she even told the truth in an unfair way, Jeffrey Epstein raped me, but he was also a member at Mar-a-Lago. If she'd said that, it would have been much bigger. They cannot abide the fact that Blair, Clinton and all of these lefties hung around with Jeffrey Epstein, but Donald Trump thought he was an arsehole. They can't...
It's really backfired on them.
They can't accept it. And you watch Channel 4 News now, you watch the BBC, close friend of Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump. Donald Trump hung around with him like he hung around with other billionaires in New York and threw him out of Mar-a-Lago, banned him for life when Virginia Roberts Giuffre told him what had happened. You will never see that on Sky.
Well, you sort of, Trevor, no. I mean, you were in the States at the time. You made this joke at their awards ceremony about Trump visiting the island. Immediately, Trump's issued legal proceedings against him because he's never visited. He can prove he's never visited.
So I mean, let's just be clear. They refer to them all as associates of Jeffrey Epstein on Channel 4 News. The only person they refer to as his friend is Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, I repeat, is the only celebrity named in the book who took any action. And he's the only one that the BBC, he's the only one that Sky, he's the only one that ITV and Channel 4 will ever list as his friend. They've got one video of him in a bar with Jeffrey Epstein.
Which is about 4 seconds long, and they rotate it all the time.
Bill Clinton, I mean, let's be clear. Let's be charitable to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton has a solid track record of being accused and exonerated of sex crime. That has happened throughout his entire career. Accused and exonerated, so I make that point. Accused and exonerated. Hillary Clinton has a solid track record of defending women who allege rape, unless it's a husband that's being accused, in which case she will be venomous. Now, look, you can't run a judicial system saying there's no smoke without fire. You can't run the judicial system like that. Each and every case against Clinton needs to be investigated, and if each and every single one he's exonerated, then fair enough, that's life. It's an important protection in our system that people can't just make continual allegations against you. But no interest in his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The only thing that Channel 4 will run is close friend of Donald Trump once stood in a pub with him and said, that bird looks hot. And that's it. And Virginia Roberts-Giuffre saying that Trump had done nothing is irrelevant. They don't care.
Before Trump was president, when Trump used to go on the late night chat shows and would guest with Howard Stern, he would often do things live on television like rape women between 1 and 10.
We did beauty contests with Epstein a lot as well.
Yeah. So just to be clear, just to be clear, you said rate.
Rate women.
Yeah. You did say that.
Yeah. One till one. Well, you know, when Mark's a 5 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. So he had this laddish, boyish behaviour that maybe he shouldn't have had in his position on television at the age he was. That unfortunately has done him no favours with people, because there's all of this footage which isn't illegal, which isn't harmful, but it doesn't give him a good look.
Let me ask Mr. Decency, Krishnan Guru Murphy and all these. Okay, so answer this allegation. Isn't it true to say that the media, the majority of the media, not this building by the way, the majority of the media are totally unwilling to investigate the child sex crimes of Jeffrey Epstein's associates because Donald Trump is not on the list? And so just think about that for a moment. We are not going to give any consideration to who else is in the book. You know, this, everywhere in the world it says there's a former Prime Minister that's accused. It doesn't say that in Britain. I understand why.
It's because we're in an anarcho-tyranny, and this all goes down to Lucy Connolly. You know, she was fast-tracked by Lord Hermer. That's why she went to prison. She was stopped from going to bail. But then if something happens on the other side, nothing happens. And this is the definition of anarcho-tyranny. We've got to take a little breaky, haven't we?
We have.
03444991000. Alex Dyke is with Andre and Ash. It's on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know what? In the break, Alex Dyke asked me what was going on with all of these people kind of, alleging underage this and that. It seems to me that there are two types of paedophiles, if you like. There are those people who have the medical, mental illness of being attracted to underage children. I think there's then a second category, which I think, and I might be wrong, is more the Jimmy Savile category, which is basically you've got no ability to chat up somebody attractive, right? You've got no ability to pull. You're basically a sad, smelly, disgusting creature. But what you can do is trick somebody into sleeping with you. And those people are, if you like, the teenage category. So I don't think necessarily these people are more into a 15-year-old than they are a 25-year-old. I just don't think they can pull a 25-year-old. And I think that has a part of it. I mean, the reason I make this point, and people may disagree with me on this, I had a friend of mine who used to deal with paedophiles for a living, as a medic. And what he said was, look, there are a percentage of people in prison who are just immoral. Right, so he said, obviously there's people who've tried to rape a 9-year-old, and obviously they are the people that would get treatment in prison. But somebody who sleeps with a 15-and-a-half-year-old next door isn't actually attracted to a preteen child, are they? They're not. It's not the pre-puberty thing. It's just an immoral person who can't understand that just because they've gone through puberty, they're not fair game. Do you see my point?
Yeah, and so if you're privileged, like Savile, like some of these other people that we've been talking about, and you're socially awkward,
yes,
and you put those two together, you're thinking, she's 27, she looks gorgeous, she's out of my league.
She's never going to talk to me.
But I might be able to manipulate or pay someone younger. I've never thought of that before.
Exactly,
that's a very good point.
Because remember, if I were to now, and we're not going to do that, it goes without saying that we don't behave in the way the BBC did. But if I say, right, what I normally do, me and Asha, we normally have 5 or 6 audience in the studio. And then what we do is we like to take them for a drink in the green room afterwards. Right, when they go to my dressing room and there's 5 females there and just me, right, a group of 23-year-old women will know exactly what's going on, make their excuse and leave. A group of 14-year-olds probably won't. And I think that's a huge element of it.
Okay, so here's one for you then. You're a singer, you're a superstar,
yeah,
and it's back in the day, and you're looking and you're seeing there's a nice girl in the 4th row and there's a girl over there in the 7th row, and you might want them to come back for a drink. You send your road manager down, you get to the dressing room, all these girls think you're wonderful, you're the greatest thing on earth. The problem then is that girl 23 or is she 15? Because a lot of these young fans would. It's hard to tell the ages.
No, I've got.
I'm not defending.
No, tell that to the judge.
No, I've got an answer to that. I have got an answer to that. Nigel Martin Smith said this in the 1990s. Nigel Martin Smith, who put Take That together. Robbie Williams was 16 when he was in Take That. No female fans were allowed backstage unless they had a passport to show they were at least 18. And security were told it doesn't matter who is invited, it doesn't matter who is inviting them, no female fans under the age of 18. I assume male fans as well, but I don't think they're any of them gay. But they just said no. And if you didn't bring your passport and you look over 18, I'm sorry, you still can't get in. But we are checking because he just said, I'm not getting into that. What's happened? Now, he said, slightly unfair for Robbie, because it would be fairly legitimate for a 16-year-old to date a 16-year-old. But he said the rule was all the security were told that, because obviously these groupies are all waiting to be invited in, and the band are perfectly entitled to invite any female fan in they want and do whatever they want. It's their dressing room or whatever. But they are going to show a passport to prove they're 18.
Yeah, because that's a very good point. But because by the 1990s, probably the book had been written.
Yeah.
But in the 60s and the 70s, when these girls at Top of the Pops were chucking themselves at some of these DJs, forget Savile, we know he's wicked and evil. And or if you're a pop star on the road and you've got a fan and you can't tell her age, you might not have asked to look at her birth certificate. I'm not defending them. I'm just saying.
Well, Asha made.
But the law is clear. You are still responsible.
Asha made a point ages ago about this. I think there is also look. Society now is more enlightened than it was in the past.
Sure.
Asha made the point. Forget who he mentioned. Well, he was dating a 14-year-old and never went, oh, what a dirty old git. Whereas now we understand the damage of doing that, perhaps in a way we didn't before. Yeah. So I think, look, every experience needs to be something we learn from, and we need to move forward as a society. But I do have to say, I think a lot of this. You've got the turning the blind eye at the BBC and the cowardice. But what you've got in the Epstein case is people who straight out say, you can rape a child as long as you give me $4,000 a month.
Yeah, I mean that is so sick.
I'll look the other way.
I don't even like hearing you say it, but I know you've got to because I know things like that happen. But I don't even like hearing it.
Yeah, I mean that was just what he was giving to his husband. I'm sure Mandelson was getting a big lump sum, as they say. By the way, a fifth man has been arrested in connection with arson attacks on North London properties linked to Keir Starmer. The Met Police said a 19-year-old. So what would he have been a few years ago? How old would he have been? Anyway, we don't know what it's about, but how do they know where he used to live? This
is going to get interesting when it comes to, and we'll make a prediction. Make a prediction about conduit intelligence officers, because of the sanctions on. I'm not saying this is what happened. Don't know what happened because of the sanctions on Russia. They are tending to use social networks to recruit people like drug dealers to attack various properties. In the case of the guys who attacked the Ukrainian aid warehouse, they didn't know they were attacking a Ukrainian facility. They were told that they'd be given £1,000 each if they set fire to a warehouse.
So is this drug addicts or dealers?
Drug dealers.
These were gang. That was just a British gang that they recruited. This is these seem to be mainly Ukrainian, and some of them were models.
Yeah, it's interesting. The reason I make this point, and our Russian friends are going to go crazy about this, I think the likelihood that the Ukrainian intelligence service are burning down the British Prime Minister's house is pretty low. But these people don't know who they work for. You might have met a Ukrainian who will tell you, oh, it's a secret safe house for Vladimir Putin or whatever.
But they knew his old cars. They knew where his properties were. This is it's a very odd situation.
You need professionals for that.
Anyway, Zero, are you staying for a bit, Alex?
If you want me to.
Yeah, so Alex is going to stay with us. It's me and Andre. 03444 991 1000. We're going to get the papers and take your calls and go through all of what's going on. You give us a ring about whatever you want. It's talk. We're just going to go into the news and hear what the latest is with all what's going on. And we'll be back after the news. 2 minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould and Alex Dyke. And Alex Dykes? Alex Dyke?
Dyke.
Yeah, okay.
Dick Van.
There's only one of him.
Or
Yeah, well, no, I get that. And we do have a bit of a problem, don't we, with dodgy language. But let me just say, this is the press preview. You're listening either on Thursday night or Friday morning. You're welcome either way. This is Andre Walker, Asher Gould, Alex Dyke and Pete Barnes is our co-host. He's down the line tonight. But look, before we go into all of the papers, why don't we just talk about this thing? Because a second ago, so we have what's called the Scunthorpe problem, don't we? Because Scunthorpe is something that you're not able to put into emails sometimes because it has CUNT within it.
Well, yes, but you've just reminded me, when I was at the BBC, the WhatsApps would come through to Alex Dyke, and my name would be 4 asterisks.
Yes.
You couldn't even say my surname at the BBC. But my kids were telling me, they said, Dad, this will wind you up. I thought, well, if it'll wind me up, it'll definitely wind you up. So I'm probably one of the last people to know about this, but I wanted to see if you were. Self-censorship words. Now, this apparently is to do with algorithms and YouTube. And you may be well ahead of me. You can't say sex, you've got to say segs, SEGGS. You can't say raped, you have to say graped. And you can't say killed, you have to say undead. What the hell
Unalived.
Unalive, sorry.
Zombies are the undead.
So I'll tell you what I found. When I set up my YouTube channel, I appealed everything. And actually it was quite interesting. So I used to write the appeals when they demonetised me. And then when the monthly updates to the terms and conditions came out, very often they copied and pasted what I'd written. So it's clear that they had quite a flat management system in the Reddit. But my Tuesday used to have to say things like, as a result of what happened in Germany in the 1930s and things like that. Now my understanding is that they've trained the algorithm quite well. So now it's only the first minute of a video on YouTube where they'd have a problem. But if you use the word rape in the first minute of a YouTube video, you are not, it is not going to, you're going to have problems.
But if you're doing a historical piece on, tragically, JFK was gunned down in November 1963, he was killed by, you can't say, and he was undead. I mean, it just, grammatically, it's clumsy and it sounds stupid.
Well, yeah, but here's the weird thing about it. So, some of the words the algorithm has picked up as dodgy are not ordinarily dodgy. So as an example, YouTube used to ban videos that said the Führer. And the reason is because most people who refer to Adolf Hitler as the Führer are quite keen on him. So the system would just assume. So it doesn't know anything.
Yeah, what if his name was Alex Führer?
So
in trouble, wouldn't you?
So let me tell you.
I had an uncle Adolf.
By the way, we will.
You didn't.
I did. He changed it to Bob. His name to Bob in the end.
So we will go to the press with Pete Barnes. But
where's the paper?
Here is the thing that I mean. There are lots of weird examples of this. I mean, remember that most police forces, when they brought in systems to check on emails, you know, they would filter out emails that contained words like, well, actually, I won't use the words, but words that would be quite common for the sex crime team in statements, right? So. I mean, at one point, Essex County Council couldn't receive any email that included the word sex. And then Essex includes the word sex. So it actually just stopped all of it. I think it's a bit silly. I mean, you've got to be careful. I'll give you a really interesting example. One of my mates got banned from Instagram for posting pornographic material, which he'd simply not done. He'd simply not done it. There was no pornographic material. And I contacted the company in Moldova who said that they could ban anybody from Instagram for £500. And I began talking to them, and I wanted to get some information on the technical details of how you do it. Here is how you do it, whether they've improved the system or not. So first of all, you take a picture of Alex Dyke, right, legitimately from the Instagram. And then you take the face off, or take part of the picture off, and add it to a pornographic picture. Just anywhere. You just pull the corner off it doesn't matter. Then what you do is you post it to 10,000 bot accounts and complain about all of those accounts. The moderators look and say, this is plainly pornographic. But now your face is part of the pornographic image. So when you complain again, right, about the legitimate photo of Alex Dyke, they detect that part of the picture was in a pornographic image. As we've discussed before and argued about, AI is not intelligent, so if it sees the correct pixel configuration, you can train it to believe a legitimate picture of Alex Dyke is pornographic when it's plainly not.
Well, that is obviously very scary, especially for me, but the whole AI thing, it's like the internet. It's fabulous, it's brilliant, but it's very, very scary. And by the way, I don't want to see any more videos on AI, as clever as they are, about any TV shows where you see them all smiling at each other, whether it's all the 4 Beatles smiling at each other.
That never happened.
No. They're great when you first see them. It's like the ice bucket challenge. But I don't want any more on my Facebook.
I'll tell you what upsets me, and we'll bring Pete Barnes in because this is the press preview, and I do want that. But one of the things that upsets me about all these videos, Pete, is very simply this: I want to see a gorilla weightlifting if it actually happened. I don't want to watch it if it didn't happen because it's not interesting that a gorilla can't do it. It's do you see what I mean, Pete?
Yeah, definitely. I think the way you have to look at these things with the AI situation is actually, how do we identify the videos, not stop the technology? Because the technology is so far ahead now, the genie's out of the bottle.
The irony is AI can identify the videos that are AI.
Yeah,
but then AI lies, and so you don't know if you are seeing a gorilla weightlifting.
Yeah, so basically this is actually how you use AI as a tool. It's actually you use AI to teach you how to use AI, and it's actually a really smart way of doing it. But the way that I do think a lot of the platforms and these big tech companies have to do now is just to stop this kind of banning reaction is literally just like find a way to identify things. Like they must be able to have a code in it or a tracer or something. I'm not a tech guy, but you know, I think that's the better way because we've tried to control the internet for years. But yeah,
so here's the bit that I'm not sure about yet. What happens, which I'm sure it will happen at some point, where the Pete Barnes YouTube channel effectively is you know, it's a performance by a Pete Barnes AI edited by Pete Barnes. That is to say that you will program into your system, have a look at all my old videos, have a look at the totality of the media market. What is it that a Pete Barnes viewer would be interested in, and can you now make a Pete Barnes video with Pete Barnes' face talking about that topic? And then what you would do is, rather than perform it on camera, I'm not saying this is good, I'm just not sure.
We're not saying this has happened, Pete.
But rather than perform it on camera, instead you watch that 10-minute video and go, yes, I'm happy with that, or no, I'm not happy with that. And what that means is that if you like, intellectual property image copyright Pete Barnes can make much more material than human Pete Barnes.
Yes, it's right. It's a really big problem, and I think YouTube have actually been one step ahead on this.
They really have.
Actually, they've already said that you know, you can't have AI content for so many minutes of a video, and they've actually really come down pretty hard because obviously a lot of people make a lot of money out of YouTube. It's a major advertising platform as well. You know, it's a big business. They can't afford for this to become a bit of a joke. I have to admit, they've been the most. Yeah, sorry, go on, Alex.
Sorry, I just want to ask a question, and this does sound stupid, and I do mean to be a little stupid there. How do we know that's Pete Barnes up there now? How do we know that's not AI? Because when I checked into my hotel in Hollywood, because I was talking to the guy behind reception, he said, I'm an actor. I thought, well, of course you are. Everyone in this town's an actor. I said, you getting much work? He said, not as much as I used to get. I used to do lots of commercials, but now they're using AI in commercials. I said, can I tell? He said, you'll probably be able to tell, but my mum can't, not yet. And then someone else, I told someone the next day, and they said, yeah, companies are getting a lot of backlash for using AI actors in commercials. So is that
I've just texted Pete and I've said, are you on with us now? He goes, no, I'm on holiday in the Bahamas.
but I will tell you.
I wish. Sorry, I just want to pick up on Alex's point there. The reason for this is actually, it's the voiceovers. So there's a lot of money is actually being made by voiceover AI rather than actually being
voiceover industry
like
finished.
It's very difficult.
It's finished.
Right.
But this is the thing. Just
to be clear, I think the way that you can tell AI's come in. Do you remember what used to happen with, say, Renault? They would make one advert for the whole of Europe, and then what they'd do is they'd just dub over in English, French, or Spanish. Now, on the continent, they're quite used to dubbing, where the mouth is opening and closing and something else is coming out. Bit weird in Britain. AI can fix that little bit. So when you look and you go, hang on, he's driving through Dusseldorf. Why is his mouth opening and closing to the English voiceover? That's where they've AI'd it.
And you think how much they've saved. I remember the great James Wales, my former partner in crime.
He's not a former partner.
He did a voice-over for Rover, and he just said, above all, it's a Rover. And he got 10 grand. Now, of course, now you don't need to get James Wales in. You just go on your computer. I mean, now, if we want a jingle here, it used to take a couple of weeks. Now you email creative, and it's with you in 10 minutes.
My brother works for a major... Well, there's only one. A major sports computer software company.
Yeah,
everyone
I know.
Right, there we go. I mean, but
I don't know.
But he. I mean, it's going to be obvious. But as long as we don't use the name, we won't upset them. But he does the stadium announcing for a major football game, right? Which, and I mean, everyone's guessed it. We're talking about now. But obviously, what he has to do is the home and away voice. So he has to go. Like tonight.
What, in Australian?
Yeah, so he has to say Alex Dyke or Alex Dyke. So he literally sits there for 4 days a year going, Bob Jones, Bob Jones. Well, of course, what the company have said to him legitimately is, look, what we'd like to do is now be able to create Bob Dyke from what you've already given us, because what we have to do is we have to go into the studio every year to record the new footballers who are 17 years old, and sometimes some of them arrive, we didn't expect them, so it's all. But he said he refused to sign the AI contract simply because of the danger that would pose in the future. They wanted to pay him for the 4 days work a year and him not come. But he said it was risky. That's what
happens. That's what's going to happen. It's already happening. People don't realise how many jobs have already gone.
By the way, if anyone has guessed which company it is, and all of you have, just to be clear, there's no suggestion that they were trying to rip anybody off, but my brother instinctively felt that signing the contract would be a bad idea and it'd be better to do it in person. Anyway, the papers.
Le Papier, and let's start with the sore away son. On me, Red Son, and that's Rooney's lad. Kai 16 offered Man United deal. Wayne Rooney's son is following in his father's footsteps. Will he be as good at often?
Will he be as ugly? When he grows up.
He's already not now. Should be. The 16-year-old attacker who finishes school this summer has been in United's academy for several years. His dad thought he's the Red Devils' record goal scorer, so that's an interesting story. And also in the top of the Sun, anger at PM's sorry story. Keir Starmer sparked a fresh backlash yesterday after claiming he believed Mandelson when he said he barely knew Jeffrey Epstein. Liar, liar, bums on fire. Your time is up. Come in, Keir Starmer. Alex.
Pete, we haven't seen you since this really broke.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, and just to remind everybody that this show, we said a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, this is going to turn into sale of government information, which is precisely what it turned into. Pete, you know, it is the front page of the Sun, but it's the biggest story of the day, the week, the year, the decade.
The century.
I think it's the biggest story of the decade so far, without a doubt, because I think that what people keep missing in this, for me, is it's not about the sex, it's not about the money, it's about power. This story is a fundamental kind of, on its base level, about who has power and who can get away with things.
It's about a network, isn't it? There's been conspiracy theories about now we're seeing it in black and white.
The reason... I've been watching you earlier, and you were on about why do they keep going back? Why would they do that? It's because they get away with it. Because they can continue to get away with it, They think they're untouchable, and therefore they're more kind of bravado about it.
And that's why we end up with the Chagos deal, the ridiculous deal. Exactly. Are we going to see a reversal of these ridiculous deals now that things are coming out in the open?
Yeah, I was going to say with the Chagos deal, it looks like Trump's kind of got all the bits that he wanted, and that's going to go through. We'll have to wait. I think tomorrow we get the most of the details, but that's been confirmed earlier on tonight.
Isn't it so sad? Isn't it so sad that Richard Harmer got paid so much money by the Chinese to represent, and the Chagosians, the people who throwing off the islands, are now never, ever going to get their archipelago back. They're never going to get it back.
No human rights for them.
And we're sat there. We're giving it to the people it belongs to. No, we're not. We're giving it to communist China.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. The fact that people think this has anything to do with Mauritius is rather ridiculous as well. They are, but they're a vassal state.
Yeah.
You know, they've got a free trade agreement, which was convenient considering where it is, and the Mauritius doesn't have much for it for China's perspective, other than its access to Port Louis, which gets you to the Diego Garcia. You know, it's all like this is all.
Although I think it is important to bear in mind that my sugar plantation is in Mauritius, right?
Yeah, you got a slave plantation.
Oh, right, sorry. Yeah, okay. I didn't get the memo on that one.
Yeah, no. We've talked about this before. My dad, amongst many
His
other
family was slavers.
my dad inherited part of a sugar plantation in Mauritius. My grandmother married a mustachioed sort of, colonel with a regimental walking cane later in life, and amongst the other things she inherited was a former slave plantation. Now, just to be clear. The man was not related to me, other than that he married my grandmother, and
it's quite a close link.
Yeah.
So, you know what I was thinking?
Closer than you would like.
Do you know what I was thinking of doing? Do you know, just to offend the lefties, just to get a business card with Andre Walker sugar plantation.
Do they still? I mean, obviously not slavery, but do they still grow sugar there?
Yeah, they do. They do actually. Well, to be honest with you, they've discovered it'll make them a lot more money to build holiday homes on it. Yeah. They actually offered my dad to make him no longer a shareholder in the sugar plantation, and instead to have a beachfront property they could build a house on.
I think that's fair enough.
Amazingly, my dad was too cheap to pay for the flights. But
before you guys move on, can I just have the sun there, please, Ash? Because I just want to say...
a good deal of...
Sorry, Alex, let me throw you all the papers.
Oh.
There we go. Because you're trying to do a paper review.
I can't move because I'm here.
So just to be clear, we're doing well tonight. Alex has got no earpiece, so he can't hear Pete Barnes, and he's got no papers. The paper review. Where we go? We've done it again.
No, I've got an earpiece, but it's kind of tied me to the seat. But I just wanted to ask you this.
Well, you shouldn't be moving around.
No, I'm sorry. Keir Starmer's apology, right? Now I've seen we've seen
He's
the clip.
never apologised before, has he?
No, we've seen the clip. And isn't his problem that even when he tries to show some emotion, he's worse than AI?
Yeah. Well, he still blames. He's not really sorry. He's going, it's not my fault. I'm sorry, but the security services didn't tell me. He's just such a lot of weasel.
Pete, but before we go to Pete, let me just once again. Oh, do you know what? We're crowing tonight about our own ability. Almost the first time Asher Gould said anything about Keir Starmer, he said, "You watch him." Every time, I didn't see it. It was somebody else. He always says
plausible deniability.
It wasn't. It didn't come across my desk.
The lawyers.
Across my desk.
But it's not working now because even though he didn't see the thing, it was in all the papers.
Yeah,
anyway, look, Pete, we got to take a little breaky, but we're going to come back with Pete's nuggets.
No, we're not. That's not going to happen.
It might be AI.
No, it's not. There's going to be no nuggets.
We'll find out if they're real after this.
Across the UK, on on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the pay-per-view with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, Alex Dyke and Pete Barnes. So, Pete, the most dishonest question in British media. Yes. What have you spotted in the papers today?
Well, to be honest, there is literally nothing else but this Epstein and Peter Mandelson story. I mean, the fact that we're still talking about Peter Mandelson is astounding to me. Like, how many times does this guy have to come back from the dead and yet again somehow manage to kill himself? It is absolutely preposterous to me, because his job as a strategist is to see a problem and avoid it. He just runs towards them. He has a real problem with power and money and being enticed into it, which makes me really wonder, how did he pass any of the security tests? That's the thing, because that one is amazing.
Are we of the view? And look, I don't want this to come across a homophobic rant. I really don't. But are we of the view that Ronaldo de Silva is a talentless but attractive bloke whose contribution to society is that he's married to Peter Mandelson? Nothing wrong with that. Not my bag, if I'm being honest. But the Dan Needle comment, which is pay Ronaldo £4,000 and Peter Mandelson will leak highly sensitive government secrets and you will make £1 billion off the back of the British taxpayer. Is that what we're saying?
It feels like it. It's either he could be complicit in it, he's getting money, or he could just be used as a kind of
but let me ask you, Pete. But let me ask you, Pete. Right. I met your partner who came to one of our parties. If News UK paid your partner, and this person, I'm not going to say who this person is because it's none of their business and not a public figure, but this person has never set foot into News UK apart from maybe a visit, right? What would I say in justification to the shareholders of News UK about why Pete Barnes' partner was being paid? The reason I would say is this: Pete's on side, we can't pay him directly. That's what I'd say.
Well, all the MPs do it. They used to do it with their wives, didn't they? They would always give him a job and get him a gig. And he had a sort of job with Epstein. I'm sure that was just a bit of peanuts to Mandelson.
But if people watching... But to repeat the comment, and Asher's right, to repeat the comment, if shareholders of News UK were watching this and they discovered that Pete Barnes' partner was earning thousands of pounds a month from News UK, they would assume it was a legal fiction designed to put money into your pocket for work that you're doing here, given that your partner does not work here. That's what they'd assume.
It's the only logical explanation, which is why I go back to the point that this is actually about the power and the influence of these people, and the fact that they have the power to control people, and who were obviously pretty smart, but yet they're so fearful of what this person has the capability to do.
Yes.
I think that's a big factor, because Epstein's always seen as this rather benign figure, apart from obviously the
cameras all over his house.
Yeah, but yet
hardly benign.
It just seemed interesting that yet people like that do tend to be very ferocious but calm.
Yes.
Then when
like
they
Mandelson himself, he was like in a velvet, in a velvet glove, you know, and Alistair Campbell was the sort of bruiser.
But if you look at it, what is it that Epstein says? He says, listen, I am so dodgy that I've literally bought an island so nobody knows what's going on. I've got a plane that can take you over there. I will pay for anything you want. I will personally give you money. I will loan you 75 grand. I will give you use of my private jet. You can have sex with anyone you want. Don't worry about it. Just help me out a bit. Now, blackmail is carrot and stick. Blackmail is carrot and stick. I will tell you, I don't know a lot about hedge funds, but I know a little bit. You know, Gordon Brown is going to resign in 8 hours' time, could be worth hundreds of millions to a quality hedge fund, buying and selling government gilts.
It will be.
But don't you think it's not as black and white as that, and that Epstein groomed them?
Yes.
These people were stupid.
Yes.
He took years.
Well, it wasn't just about sex. It was also about he was a networker. He could introduce. I saw the emails. Hi, Peter, meet Putin, and he would introduce.
Yeah, but I'm talking about grooming them about everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. He was very, very clever. Sinister,
He was good at
but clever.
But that's
I
right.
think that's the best word.
Yeah,
That's the best word, sinister. It is the Sorry, go on.
So, well, I think it's important just to remind anybody watching or listening. If you are put in a position of being blackmailed, it is better to simply go to the police and put an end to it, because it'll end badly either way. But you do. I'll tell you something, Pete, and this is a question that came up on the Thursday night show, so apologies if you're listening on Friday morning. Look, I think I don't want to over-egg the pudding, but I think most of us who've been in political strategy have come into contact with intelligence officers. That level of information arbitrage, that level of networking, that level of building, that level of penetration of confidential government systems is the work of a professional. My question is this: when are the CIA or Mossad going to admit which one of them trained somebody who should never have been in the intelligence services?
Well, they're never going to admit.
Do you know what? I don't think they will, because I have a sneaky suspicion that he was playing everybody for a fuel.
He was in the end. He was in the end. But let's be clear, Pete. Let's be clear, Pete. If you were recruited to the intelligence services, it would be MI6 or MI5 in the UK. Sorry, internally. But so there's no. So the fact that he was working with Russian intelligence is not a function of him being a Russian intelligence officer.
True.
It's a function of the fact that his professional experience means he can track down Russian intelligence officers.
Do you know, there's also... Sorry,
by the way, I do want to
he might
apologise.
not be intelligence.
So I do want to apologise for one thing. It is also true to say that the suggestion he might be a Mossad agent is purely based on the fact he's Jewish. He's not an Israeli. And I just want to be clear on that. And I think it is slightly unfair to the Israeli state.
Well, I mean, you know, Robert Maxwell was, we don't know, but a Mossad, not an agent, but a Mossad asset, you know, and some say that's why he was bumped off. He was blackmailing them because he was in trouble with his pension fund. They did $500 million and was blackmailing the Israeli government about the stuff he'd done, and ends up falling in the sea.
I think what is different about the Jewish community, if you like, is this. Any intelligence service will seek to gather information, and not all of that information is confidential. Sometimes intelligence services will ask things like, if we were to go to Azerbaijan, what present should we buy for the president that he'd quite like? Oh, Bob Jones knows he happens to like Chivas Regal whiskey or whatever. So not all of it. A lot of this stuff, in fact, the majority of this stuff is very mundane. I think that where it's different with Jews is this. Normally, you would seek to work with the diaspora in a country to understand what is going on. Israel kind of doesn't have a diaspora. It has the other way around. It has people from the same religion who went over to, some of whom went over to Israel and some of whom stayed here. So the point is, you're not working with the Israeli diaspora. You're working with Jewish people who didn't go to Israel. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. But I will say, given the kind of the manipulation techniques and all this kind of stuff, it's very MI6 during the Cold War.
Yeah, without doubt.
We were very, very good. And it wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being a Brit. I honestly would not surprise me.
Well, all intelligence
just
agencies,
the depths of this, they'd rather craziness.
They're all based on the SOE, aren't they? That Churchill began it. They all come from that, the Mossad, the CIA.
But look, when I worked in the European Parliament, and I'm sure this happened to you, Pete, when I worked in the European Parliament, I quote unquote befriended somebody from the Foreign Office, from the British Embassy, who often met me for a coffee to discuss what was going on and things like that. Now, look, that is part of the wider intelligence gathering. Clearly, I don't know where the nukes are. Well, there are none in Belgium, one would assume. So me having a beer with somebody from the British Embassy and that going in the wider intelligence report about what's happening in Europe is very different to the Jeffrey Epstein thing. He is somebody who has professional training in this field. The maths teacher with no qualifications in maths and no qualification in teaching sounds like a brief backstory, sounds like a cover. Is level of I always make this point and people kind of don't believe it, but there are loads of people that or there's people you'll come across who are intelligence or assets, because there's things like heads of security at hotels. we need to know what...
Concierges.
Honorary Paul got paid by MI6, so we don't know what that was all about.
So I had a friend of mine.
He was an asset.
I had a friend of mine who worked for a major hotel chain, and he said what used to happen was this. He used to get a phone call and they'd go, hello, we're going to need room 37 and room 39 of your hotel on the following night. We're going to drill the wall and we'll fix it all before we leave, but we'll need the room for a week. And he said that would regularly happen. Yeah. And he said nobody would tell you, but so obviously knowing what was. But my point is, people like that who are asked to open a door or asked to book somebody in room 37 rather than randomly somewhere. Those are not people with professional training. Those are people helping out, sometimes for a fee. Jeffrey Epstein, to me, is a professional trained security operative. And by the way, I repeat this comment again. If you think Vladimir Putin is going to jump on the Lolita Express to fly to your private island to sleep in bedrooms where you have fixed the lights, where you have done everything, where you can't security sweep the place with your own people. If you think Putin's going to fall for that one, right, then he literally was not in the KGB.
Putin doesn't even leave his own palace anymore.
But we're never going to know, are we?
Yeah.
We're still asking who killed Marilyn Monroe, who shot John Lennon, what happened to Diana.
We know who shot John Lennon.
Well, yeah, but we don't know who was behind it. We know that Mark Chapman pulled the trigger.
He was just a nutter, wasn't he?
Well, was he?
Well, the Kennedy one we don't know.
Yeah, but that's
the Kennedy one we don't know, and we don't. Sorry, Pete, hang on. And there are with conspiracy theories about everything, including Diana. And it doesn't matter what we say. We are never going to know the truth because we're not important.
Can I say an awful thing to Pete? I honestly think the best thing that JFK ever did for the American Republic was die. I genuinely believe that. This is a man. 100%. This is a man who Nikita Khrushchev flew to America, went to Disneyland, and said the number one thing the Soviet Union needs to be is more similar to this country. And within 8 months, he almost had a nuclear war with him. Right? The man had gone to Disneyland and said, "I want the Soviet Union." JFK. I know it's not relevant, but can you imagine that you and your family are so dangerous that your own people are killing them to avoid them winning political office? I mean, that is just dreadful. Yeah. That is dreadful.
It's dreadful.
But he almost had a nuclear war with the most pro-American president, pro-American Russian president ever.
Yeah, but just to pick up on Alex's point about conspiracy theories, it's called the problem of apatheia. So basically, our brains like things that make sense. In other words, A, B, C,
I love
D.
that film.
It doesn't like it when it goes A, Z, H. It doesn't like it. Our brains, they reject it. So when we get given a simple solution to what we think is something very complex, our brains go, no, don't like that.
But this is like,
we need to expand it. And that's where the 4D chess kind of idea comes from. It's like something so simple can't exist.
Yeah, but Pete,
so our brains have to make it complicated.
Pete, you and I both know that the number one reason why people like you and I don't believe conspiracy theories, often when there are conspiracies, because we go completely the other way. Because we've seen it before where we go, no, he's just cocked it up. Right? No,
he's just an idiot.
He's just like, honestly, they just didn't think. No, they must have colluded. Yeah. No, I promise you, he will have just been there because he was.
Yeah, Harry Cole says one of the greatest lines I've ever heard. I think we were out to lunch years ago, and he said, "Do you know Westminster? It's like the thick of it, but nobody wanders around going, isn't it like the thick of it on the thick of it?"
I remember Harry.
It's ridiculous.
Harry Cole. I won't say which journalist it was, but everyone knows I had a major run-in with the journalist, and I say the reason he won his award was because he just got drunk and made stuff up. By the way, his publication tried to sue me and then couldn't because I was going to stand that up in court. But anyway, but Harry Cole phoned up this bloke when he was writing the book about Liz Truss and said, "Hey, you reported for 6 weeks this story about Liz Truss," and he went, "Oh no, I just made it up." What? He said, "No, you won't find any evidence of that. Just the turnip Taliban didn't exist."
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Anyway, look, it's Pete Barnes is here, Alex Dyke, it's Talk, me and Andre, 03444991000. I'm going to take all your calls, and you can leave us a WhatsApp message on there as well. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Our Daily Star, we're going through the papers. It's Andre and Ash. We've got Pete Barnes and Alex Stout. Thought of the day, Dr. No, Prime Minister. No, I don't know either. And Starmer in firing line. Top secret Epstein files. The spy who failed me. Desperate PM Sir Keir Starmer blamed Britain's spies as he faced mutiny from his Labour MPs over his appointment of pedo Jeffrey Epstein buddy Pete Mandelson as our man in the US. He's knackered, isn't he? Because he's got such a big majority, but his backbenchers are all against him.
How long's he got before he?
That's the thing. Because he never quits. He should have quit already a few times. I think a couple of weeks.
I just wonder, Pete, does it make any difference? I mean, if you are a regular Talk a viewer or listener, then you will have concluded that we have concluded that the Prime Minister doesn't run the country anyway. All that happens is a load of people in quangos do whatever it is that they want, and then the Prime Minister takes the fall. I don't think Starmer cares about what he's doing. He's just in it for the ride for a bit. I don't see any reason to get rid of him.
I don't know. Actually, to be fair, I used to think that. Now I kind of think that he did actually think he was doing the right thing, which I think makes him more dangerous. But I do think that he's just realised he's just so underqualified for it. I think the job is just too big for him. He doesn't see the problems. He doesn't see the issues. He doesn't get the values of the nation. He doesn't get what I call the voice of the nation. Yeah. So when he gives the speeches, he doesn't sound like he's giving us either the lecture of a telling off, or he doesn't sound like he's comforting us, because he doesn't know what to do. He's not got the feel for being a leader, and I think that's where he keeps falling down. How long is he going to survive?
Here's my question to you, right? If you or if I became Prime Minister, we'd go, I've got a burning desire to do something. Let's just be clear. The worst kept secret in this building is that, there's consideration of maybe a peerage and whatever, because obviously Reform UK are thinking about putting a delegation together, and I may enter Parliament. I would do that. Not to use the title, not to show off, but I would do it in order to put legislation in. I'd be there every day. I don't get these people who become the Prime Minister just because they had shit all else to do.
I think there are very few and far that actually end up doing that. I think they come across that way because they're not communicators. They're not good at the actual job. I think that's the difference. We're confusing being good at the job and not caring about the job.
But
and
surely,
I think that's where the conflation comes.
Keir Starmer was given media training. If he hasn't got any passion...
My media training...
Well, he had that woman who visited him on Christmas Eve, didn't he?
Oh,
My media training for Keir Starmer would be buy some gaffer tape from the Big Yellow. That would be it. Yeah. Right, because less is more.
Same.
Less is more.
Shouldn't we have shouldn't MPs have learnt from John Major? Remember Spitting Image?
They should learn nothing from John Major.
But Spitting Image made him into this grey, boring, dull...
You look a bit like John Major.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, you do.
Anyway, you would have thought that after that they would have made sure that they'd... What are you passionate about? What do you care?
Nothing.
Especially after Blair, when it was all about the publicity and all that. It is strange,
You're saying nothing, Pete.
Yeah, but no, because if you think about it, Keir Starmer is the only person in the Labour Party who doesn't belong to a tribe. He's not a Corbynista. He
doesn't have any real views, does he?
He doesn't have any views, which is why a lot of us kind of believe that we're not living through Starmerism. We're living through Morgan McSweeneyism. Yeah. So it's his chief of staff that
which
is
leading on from Blairism.
It's all which is leading on from
the Blair project. And he seems to have stayed well out of this. He never went to Epstein. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, has he ever been on there?
Blair.
He's sort of out the picture because he was the Mandelson man, wasn't he?
Yes.
But
political antenna, actually quite good at being a politician. So he knew he actually knew where the bear traps were. He didn't run towards them like Peter Mandelson and everybody else did.
Do you think that's
the best
why
was John Prescott?
Well, they didn't want him on the island, did they?
No. But I say about he called out Peter Mandelson very, very early on.
I've got to be honest with you. I've got to be honest with you, Pete.
Said, not Peter. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've got to be honest with you, Pete. If I discover that there is pictures of John Prescott on that island, I will consider terminating my life because I can't imagine. And I don't want to know. I don't want to know that. I just can't think of anything that could possibly be worse than that. Can you imagine? Oh, well,
That's true.
me and
No,
my
I don't
wife
want
came
to
over.
imagine. I don't want to. Two Jags Prescott.
but actually, Pete, look, I'm going to ask you this question, and maybe it's going too far or whatever, but, I see people like you and people like me, work incredibly hard to try and do something for this country. How do you personally feel about the fact that you see your mates running into figurative but not literal gunfire whilst Ronaldo de Silva gets paid $4,000 a month for doing absolutely zero other than being married to somebody who is leaking government information to a hedge fund in order that they can better profit from the British taxpayer?
Yeah, I have to admit, it is difficult at times. But one thing I learned very, very quickly when I moved into politics was the world is terrible, it's full of terrible people, and you can only fix your little bit of it. And unfortunately, some things that take a lot of people, and we have to have very bad things to happen to actually get change. That's the one thing I have learned. It only takes great tragedies, a great scandal, and that is how things probably move on. This idea of people kind of rallying around and all holding hands, nonsense.
But
that's the reality.
But if I ask you, and I'm sorry to say this once again, but if I told you that I would pay your partner £4,000 a month if you committed a grotesque dereliction of duty, and in addition to that £4,000, I have a private. This is going out in the morning. I have a private CSE island where you can come and fly with all the children that you might want to over to it. I would hope that you would put the phone down and call the police. And you know what, Pete? I don't want you on my show if you're the sort of person who goes, that sounds wonderful, Andre, send the private jet.
Yeah, but again, it's that I think Alex makes a better point. They were groomed into this.
Yeah.
I don't think many of them wandered into it willingly, like we all seem to think they did. Obviously, they've got kind of an obsession with money, so therefore that's the hook. That's the thing that got Epstein in through the door, and that's how he manipulated them. If you look at throughout history, the master manipulators always had that. The great cult leaders always had that one thing on everybody to keep the power structure there.
Anyway, another story in the Telegraph. NHS recruits a nurse specialising in cousin marriage for Bradford. An NHS hospital trust has recruited a nurse whose role it is to support families where parents are close relatives. Bradford Teaching Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust advertised a post for a close relative marriage and neonatal nurse. The job description said the successful candidate would provide comprehensive care and support to families who have recently had a baby and are close relatives, cousins, uncles, aunts or other. How delightful. I mean, hospitals will say don't smoke because you've got this much percentage. They'll say don't eat fatty foods. But cousin marriage, that's all right.
No, they would have frowned on that years ago. They would have done anything they can to push anyone away from that, and they would have said it causes harm. Yeah, it causes harm.
Here's the weird thing.
Yeah.
Here's the weird thing. And actually, I will put this to Pete. Here's the weird thing, and I've been thinking about this. So the Keir Starmer belief, which I think has been pretty resoundingly debunked, is that everybody in the world is completely similar. Your background and your heritage and your culture make no difference to anything whatsoever. The only reason that some countries are backward is because they were victims of imperialism and slavery. And the minute you leave those countries, you will become a moderate Western liberal. So all of that has been thrown away. But even if that were true, surely part of that transaction would be when you come to Britain to go, don't do the stuff you did in your old country, right? For the basic principle of anyone from around the world comes to Britain and will become British, surely part of that is to say, here's how to be British. And you know what? Marrying your Uncle Steve, not that great.
No, it's not. But let's not forget that we don't teach people how to be British. We don't stand up for any of that stuff. We don't have integration policy because we have multiculturalism. As I always say, the central tenet of multiculturalism is the rejection of the native culture. It's incompatible with it. So this is the central point. Is I think you said it one time actually, Andre, that I don't sometimes blame these people for behaving in the way that they do because we don't tell them not.
It's our fault
because we're too scared of offending people.
You said Pete, and know, I've always said that you and I have worked together for a while, and we steal each other's ideas, and rightly so, because that's the purpose of a debate. But one of the things that you said was, it is a fallacy to say multiculturalism has failed. This central idea of failure to integrate, this central idea of uncontrolled immigration, this central idea of saying that if you come to Britain, you don't have to be British. What we are going to do is simply say that Urdu is as valid as English. All of that is working. It is absolutely successful. Now, you might not like the result, but if you look at what the multiculturalists wanted, what they say they wanted, that has been achieved.
Yes, but why do we
definitely
make that okay? Why is it okay? If you come to our country and we feed you and we clothe you and we give you work, shouldn't you be eternally grateful, like we would be if we now had to go and live in a different country with a different
See, you're looking at it through our other cultures will see that. We think you should be grateful. They'll think you're an idiot for doing that and you're a weak nation. And in some ways, they're right.
I think the outcome, and Pete might know this better than me, I think the outcome for Keir Starmer and Richard Harmer, I refuse to call him Richard Harmer,
Dick Harmer.
I think their outcome, if they were to sit down and if they were capable of understanding what they were doing, then they would say, the problem with this world is Britain, America and the Anglosphere. If only we can make these people more reasonable by bringing people in from the third world, then everyone will be friends again. But the problem here is we just need to stop the British and Americans forcing everybody to live like Britons and Americans.
We got to take
I agree.
If they succeed in that, then what will happen is China will wreak tyranny on everyone.
Right, we've got to take a little break. We've got a few more papers to do. Alex and Peter here. It's Andre Nash on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, Alex Dyke and Pete Barnes. And I just wish you were here during the breaks because some of the expert level stuff gets said then. OK, look, there's a piece of breaking news which is being reported on the Press Association Newswire. Neil Duncan Jordan, who is the Member of Parliament for Poole, has called on Keir Starmer to get rid of his chief of staff. That's Jordan McSweeney. Is it Jordan McSweeney? Morgan McSweeney. He is saying that this government cannot continue as long as Morgan McSweeney stays in. There has been a loss of trust and confidence in the Number 10 operation. The Mandelson affair is just the latest and probably biggest issue, but it's not the first. And if things don't change, it's unlikely to be the last. And
McSweeney is clearly part of the problem, is what they say. So
I think where this is interesting, and I'll go to Pete Barnes because I think it is helpful to bring him in on this. This feels very Theresa May. Do you agree? And why do you think I think that? I can't be bothered explaining.
What? Oh, they're all going to start turning on each other.
Well, no, I think actually it's the Nick, Timothy, and Fiona Hill need to go, which is basically polite for you're dreadful.
Yeah, it is. But I do have to admit, though, Morgan McSweeney has some questions to answer because one of the realities of our system is that the Chief of Staff runs the Cabinet Office. That's essentially what they do. And it is an entire department at their disposal. What is handled by the Cabinet Office? Oh, yes, security clearances. Why is Peter Mandelson passing those tests? How is he getting this through? What did Morgan McSweeney know? Now, he might have nothing to do with it. Fair enough. However, there has to be a question asked about the processes here.
What about Lord Alley?
We get really angry at the people.
But if you remember, if you remember the incident of Andy Coulson, and look, obviously, this company has history with him. He let down this company very badly. I'm not going to comment on that more because I think it's unfair because I wasn't there at the time. But Andy Coulson was involved in phone hacking. We understand now that before he went to prison, when he was made Number 10 Press Secretary, Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, said that she, first of all, told David Cameron not to make him her Number 10 press spokesman, because, of course, remember, they all work for the Crown. And she said if Cameron absolutely insisted, he would receive no security clearance beyond the basic level, which meant that he wasn't able to go in for confidential briefings. Without being funny, it is the monarch's job to do this. Where was King Charles?
Yeah.
I mean, it's impossible for you to answer that question, but...
Oh, I don't, but yeah. It's one of the few times that actually bringing the monarch into a situation is valid. Most times people want them to intervene because they don't like a particular policy. They don't intervene on that. This is the kind of thing, actually, where it's not unusual for the monarch to step in. The Queen did. The Queen often did it. I think it was Harold Wilson, you know, like a very close friendship and all the kind of scandals
just to be clear, that the security assessment of the risk of the Prime Minister will be supplied to His Majesty the King, who will have read Keir Starmer's file, including all the things about Czechoslovakia and all that sort of thing.
If McSweeney goes, is that the it for Starmer?
No. I think they'll keep him till May. Get through that, have a sponge to suck up all the bad stuff. We'll get rid of him, and there you go. Because let's be real, he's been limping along anyway since what, 6 months ago?
He
wants another couple of months.
I heard a brilliant theory the other day. Somebody asked the question, why on earth is Keir Starmer so afraid, given he has such a big majority? And actually, I thought the answer was amazing. They basically said, well, look, here is the issue. There are now loads of people on the Labour bench who are going to lose at the next election. People with a majority of 500. You know, people in the home counties. People in areas of Surrey that have never voted Labour before and never will again. Those people now, and I know this sounds awful, they really, really need a job after they leave Parliament. And UNICEF, you know, Save the Children, all of these sorts of people, you know, the press regulators, Ofcom, off what? They're not going to take you on unless you've stood by your principles. So you can't vote against climate change because almost every job for former Labour MPs is going to be with somebody who loves the net zero agenda. Therefore, there's just this rebellion of people who don't care because they're never going to win anyway.
Yeah, this is why this is the big thing about these massive majorities. They are incredibly difficult to manage because of these kind of issues. So, you know, once it looks like you're not going to win, you have no control over it. You might have the biggest majority ever, but if you've got no control, it's utterly useless. And because Keir Starmer doesn't know what to do with the majority, because he doesn't believe in anything, it's 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Right, well, stay tuned. By the way, Jeremy Kyle, if you're listening in the morning, is going to be coming on next, so that's going to be a real rip snort of a show. I heard the one this morning, and that was, well, yesterday morning. Is it Dolan? Oh, it's Dolan. 0344 499 1000. Call me, and we're going to be talking about all the day's latest news. You go on Dolan sometime.
I'm a big Mark Dolan fan.
Yes, he's one of my favourite.
I prefer his earlier work.
Anyway, so that's Mark Dolan, if you're listening in the morning, coming up next.
And if you are still listening on Thursday night, thank you so much. We are going to ask Pete for his final thought. What happens next to this country? We can't keep running through prime
Who's the next leader?
like this.
Oh, well, I think Angela Rayner.
Front page of the Mail, Rayner, I'm ready to go.
Under the Rayner, the
She's a tax evader. Well, she paid her tax back, the 40 grand.
The man that's anti under the Rayner is that she's thick, and everyone likes a thick person. It's time to bring in someone who's thick.
Alex, who do you think's going to be the next
I think it's going to be Angela Rayner. Although
no-brainer, Rayner.
I don't think the people are going to be behind her, though, but it doesn't make any difference, does it?
No.
I don't think they run the country.
Could it be Prime Minister Lammy? Maybe temporarily, but not permanent. Miliband, you know, there's a lot.
I mean, at least Lammy would be fun.
There's no one decent, though, that's for sure. And we've still got another 3 years. Anyway.
Miliband will destroy this country.
0344 499 1000. Thanks, Pete and Alex. It's all your calls.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. We've got loads and loads of calls, but please do have a go at getting in touch. No, actually, don't get in touch at the moment. I'll tell you why. Because at the moment, we've got a full switchboard, which is great, but also, if you want to make a point, rather than sitting on the phone trying to get through, you just do this. Right. So you put 0344 499 1000 into your phone, and then all you do is you go to talkTV on your phone and you just leave a message, and I'll demonstrate how you do it like this. You just go, you push this this microphone. Oh, you can't see that. You push this microphone button, leave the message, and it will come straight through to the studio, and we'll play the message. Don't worry.
Sharon in West Yorkshire. Give us a ring, 03444 999 1000. Let's start with Sharon in West Yorkshire. Hi, Sharon. Morning.
Hiya, good morning.
Morning.
You all right?
Yeah, man. What's
right,
up?
So
What's up, Sharon?
I'll just get to the point. So, right,
Yeah.
I really like listening to you guys, and I don't normally feel the urge to call in, but just regarding the comments made about how it's, we should be basically telling, Asian immigrants or Asian communities that marrying Uncle Steve isn't good. I found that really racist.
Why?
Because
Well, no one is first cousin should do
first
that.
of all, let me finish.
Yeah.
Marrying your cousin, not illegal, not even frowned
Yeah,
upon.
it should be illegal.
Not even think. Well, yeah, but it's not.
Yeah,
right,
well,
it's
but
not.
it should
like,
be.
homosexuality was illegal. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't cause
should that be
genetic
illegal
problems,
now?
does it?
It can do, yeah. I mean,
Why-
the spread of sexually
why does
transmitted
it?
diseases primarily.
Well, you can get over heterosexual, but if you have if you have sex with your cousin, you can have genetic abnormalities.
Right, we're not on anyway. Yeah, the point.
It's not racist. It doesn't matter what race you are.
It's racist to say we should be saying marrying Uncle Steve's not okay.
But hang on,
No,
hang
it's
on,
not.
hang on. So okay,
Why
so
is it racist?
No, hang on. I get this. Let's.
Can I finish? It's racist because
No,
you're
it's
not. Can I finish? Right, you've said all your bit, now you're saying, oh, why is it racist? Why is it racist? Let me finish and I'll tell you why it's racist. Because you're making a sweeping statement like that, and you've even got it incorrect because they're not talking about marrying their uncles, are they?
And
We're not
name's
talking
Steve.
about. We're not talking about any particular race. We're talking about just first cousins of any race.
You said, you said in Bradford.
Don't marry your Uncle Steve.
In Bradford, that's what they've set up. That was the news in Bradford.
It's cousins, and in Bradford, where I live next door to, this neonatal nurse that does apply for, it's not because they're promoting cousins marrying. It's to help people.
Sure, but Sharon, let me respond to this. So first of all, you make a reasonable point about gay people, but let me explain why I think you're wrong. First of all, the reason why gay people had unprotected. No, hang on. No, you raised the gay people thing. You raised the gay people thing. No, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Now you got to let. Now it's my turn. Right. Now you got to let me. I'll just turn it off. Right. Okay. So, here is why it's wrong. So first of all, the reason why gay people had unprotected anal sex in the 1970s and 80s was not because they wished to propagate HIV, it's because they didn't know that it was causing HIV. When they did, safe sex rolls out and most of the younger members of the gay community have eradicated that pandemic. What we are talking about here is a government, and the NHS has promoted first cousin marriage, is saying to people, your backward practice in the third world country you come from, and sorry if that offends you, is creating a major health risk in the United Kingdom, and you're willfully doing this. All you have to do is not marry your cousin. Now, the gay community were told, if you want to stop HIV, the way to do it is to wear a condom, and they followed that. What we did not do with the gay community is go, having HIV is an alternative lifestyle choice, therefore you should be allowed to get on with it. Don't worry, having unprotected anal sex randomly is good for society because you'll have more fun. Whereas what we did say to the Asian community is there can be advantages of first cousin marriage. And let me be clear what those advantages are. None at all. There aren't any advantages to first cousin marriage unless you very much love the person, and that's really not why they're marrying them. The reason they're marrying them is because they are moving person by person villages over from Pakistan to Bradford. Has nothing to do with love, has nothing to do with marriage, has nothing to do with genetic diversity. It is simply to do with immigration law, and we should be saying no. I turned her off, by the way. You can turn her off.
Oh, right, yeah. Sharon.
Yeah, can I not respond to that, or can I?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Right, so all I want to say about that is the marrying your cousins, it actually comes from traditional practice of keeping the money within the family.
Sure.
Because the way the wealth is passed down in Muslim families, and Muslim communities, it doesn't go to the daughters, it goes to the sons.
Sure.
Right, so to keep wealth, going back to the times when they owned land, and they might live in villages, and it was important to keep the wealth in the family, That's where that practice comes from. And yeah, it's old-fashioned.
But Sharon,
I saw a family and the 3 kids were all totally disabled, and the parents were distraught, going, "We're not going to have the next generations finished because the 3 kids were totally, you know, they were brain damaged."
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Let's
that's all right with you.
Sharon, let's be liberals about this. I'm willing to do the following deal. Which is, if on the day of your marriage you sign a form to say, "I understand first cousin marriage is against the advice of the National Health Service. I will not expect the NHS to pick up the bill for any disabled children."
Yeah.
Now, hang on. If you say, if somebody signs to say, "I am happy to pay for the disabled children," because always remember, people with mental disabilities and physical disabilities have a good life in many respects as well. The concerns is about the cost to the taxpayer. You are 17 times more likely to have a serious and long-term birth defect if you are married to your first cousin, and that grows exponentially.
And these aren't just first cousins; they're first cousins of first.
Yeah.
It goes back generationally. So it's really mixed.
If the community in Bradford is willing to self-finance the treatment of these people with severe birth defects, I am happy for them to continue to do it. So my question, Sharon, to you, and I think you made some excellent points, we're going to bring you up now, and I'm going to say, why am I wrong? Why shouldn't we say it is the tradition of these communities to marry the first cousin, and it's our tradition to pick up your bill if you're willfully negligent?
Right, I completely agree with you on that, and I haven't got a problem with that.
Okay.
As I said when I rang up, I had a problem with you saying marrying Uncle Steve's not okay.
Well, Uncle Steve is not an Asian, nor is he your cousin.
But what I'm saying is, it wasn't correct of you.
Well, we didn't mention any race. You're the one that brought race into it.
No, hang on a second. Sharon, let me ask you this.
So
Am I wrong?
Sorry, let me just say this. You said before you made that comment, you went, these people coming into this country...
Yes, correct.
Yeah, you said
Correct.
these people coming into this country,
Yep.
we have an obligation to be telling them.
Yes, we do,
And now
yeah.
you're telling me that I brought race into it.
No,
I said that. I never brought any race into it. I just think first cousins can get married.
What stops me? I've said this before today.
You sound your own voice, you love. All right, I'm going because you just like to read yourself talking.
Well, sorry, that was him talking, not me. I want to ask you this question. Okay, well, here's my question. I've called President Xi of China a savage. I'll tell you why I've called him a savage, is if you believe it's appropriate to put 2.5 million Uyghur Muslims into concentration camps and castrate their children, congratulations, you're a savage. Just to be clear on what we are saying here, I believe that the practices of the third world are backward. I believe they're backward. I believe, I've said it before, I believe we have nothing to learn from Somalian culture. I believe that child grooming, incest, whatever this stuff is, I believe that none of this is helpful to Britain. I think we should be going out to these countries and saying, the reason you're poor is because you're backward, and it's got nothing to do with empire, and it's got nothing to do with slavery, and unfortunately, you're going to have to accept that if you marry your cousin, you're backward. And that's what I'm going to say.
Ken in London.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I was reading a very wonderful Bible prophecy. Let me read it to you.
Thanks for the letter,
Isaiah
by the way.
5 and
Thanks for the
20.
letters.
I never sent a letter. Wasn't me.
All right. All right. Okay.
Isaiah 5 and 20. This is God warning the world. The context here is Israel, but the warning is for the whole world. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness. We are now living in these prophesied days. I'm 80 years old now, by the grace
Happy
of God.
birthday.
60 years ago, the practices of sodomy, lesbianism, transvestite, adultery, fornication were regarded by most of society as being evil and shameful, right? 60 years ago, that's how the country, especially this country, looked on these practices. Now, it's been flipped around. Instead of calling evil, they call evil good. Now they take pride in committing these sins. Now, 60 years later, the practice of sodomy, transgenderism, lesbianism, homosexuality, adultery, fornication is now...
Here's what I don't understand, Ken.
Normal.
Here's what I don't understand, Ken.
Hold on, Andre. It's treated as being normal and healthy.
But here's what I don't understand. Right, so I see these gay pride marches. Right, okay. if you like to have sex with somebody dressed up as a dog, I personally don't care. Knock yourself out. Enjoy yourself. If you like wandering around in your underpants, I quite like it myself, but not when anyone's in, because I'd scare people. But, but it's the whole, oh, let's walk around the streets in our underpants, and everyone's going, oh, you're so brave. You're not brave. You're just an exhibitionist.
They're like they think they're celebrities on the bus. Go,
like, why should I? Right, Ken, if you wish to walk down the street in your underpants, knock yourself out. But I'm not going to stand there, clap, and say you're very brave.
Ken got surrounded by aroused naked men on cyclists, didn't you? And they cycled around you.
Well, that goes on every year in London.
You always happen to be in the middle of those naked aroused cyclists.
I told you about that. A friend of mine, an older African lady, was preaching the gospel. He jumped off his bike, totally naked, and he walked over to a very aggressive and told her to stop preaching. But listen, the point I'm making here is this: God warns us. There's a time coming when the society will call evil good, and they will call good evil. Now, right now, they are calling evil, they take pride in it. They go on marches proud of their sin. Now, along with that, they are now calling good evil.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I'll tell you one thing that I've learnt about you. And I think people have learnt this about you. So when people first heard you, they went, oh, this guy is just telling us how to live our lives. Actually, I think people have realised that your bravery, such that it is bravery, is to say, look, I'm just going to tell you the truth whether you like it or not. Now, you may not like the problem with birth defects being caused by first cousin marriage, and you may not like the fact that you're doing it because you're backward, but those are both facts.
Yeah, but the problem is here, Andre, I know what you're saying, but the problem is this world now, the Western world especially, there's an epidemic of sexual disease and mental disease, and most of it stems from sexual sin. Now, I'm a sinner saved by the grace of God. I committed sexual sin, fornication, and I'm sex with my wife.
No, let's not get into it.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty of some of these sins. I'm not saying I'm a holy Joe.
But actually, I tell you where I disagree with you, Ken. No, actually, I don't disagree with you. Where I have a different take on it. So, I'm not worried about who you've had sex with and what you've done with them. It doesn't bother me.
I'm actually.
What bothers me is the wholesale destruction of the family. So it doesn't bother me if you and your wife do things that are generally considered immoral more generally.
No, but we'd like to know.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy for you if you're happy. My concern is that I think the epidemic of unhappiness is related to the fact that the basics of humanity, a belief in God, a belief in the family, a community, those basics have been eradicated in exchange for cheap sex and Amazon.
But listen, Andre, right now on the internet, movies and TV, they are glorifying and glamorizing evil sexual sin. It's promoted. The governments even legalize it. Now in the governments, they're full of homosexuals, and that's up to them. This is not hate speech. I'm talking about reality. Homosexuals have moved in everywhere. At one time, 60 years ago, this would have been shameful. Now they call this good.
But why don't? What is your argument? What is your argument then?
Andre, let me say this.
Sorry, go on.
Let me just say this, please. Now they are saying evil is good, and they're now shutting up and silencing those who say we should be righteous and believe in God.
But what about those? So what about those gay people who simply say, my belief is that God created homosexuality, and effectively in the past people were deeply unhappy. Is it not a bigger sin to marry a woman you don't love and pretend to be straight?
Well, there's an even bigger sin, a man marrying a man and a woman marrying...
Well, I don't believe you can marry a man. Sorry, I don't believe you can marry same-sex.
It's folly. But listen, the thing is here that I'm just trying to draw our attention to the wonderful prophecies in the Bible. We are now living...
Well, hold that, Ken, because we've only got 3 minutes more until the break. And my understanding is we've got Noel in Nottingham, who has also got some points to make about Christianity. Hang around, Ken. Might be interesting.
Noel.
Hello, Andre, and especially Ash. I love you, mate. God bless you.
Oh, thanks, man. It's beautiful.
I was a Christian missionary in the Middle East for 9 years.
Wow, brave.
I married a beautiful Egyptian Coptic Christian who were the descendants of the pharaohs until the Arabs went in and conquered.
They're the oldest Christians,
Egypt
aren't
in
they? The oldest
641.
Christians that exist.
One of the oldest.
Yes.
Armenia was the oldest nation, but we were. I'm actually Coptic now.
Because Egypt used to be a Christian country, of course. Most of the Middle East was.
Massively, you still is.
Can I say one thing that's if people are going to get upset by an incendiary, and I'm sorry if this upsets you, but there is a reason that people from North Africa look like they're from the Middle East and not from Africa, and the reason is because there was a mass genocide in North Africa.
Well, there was, but I want to talk about my own thing.
Sure.
I lost my wife and 2 boys in a church explosion.
I'm sorry to hear that.
In 2012.
Where was that? In Egypt?
Yeah, in 2012. I was disabled from it, and I live in Nottingham now, and because I went to college here, theology college. And
This was in 2012, was it?
Yeah.
I remember there was a lot of terrorist attacks through the Islamic Brotherhood, wasn't there, around that time?
There was. And I just want to say about first cousin marriage for 1400 years. You have to remember that Muhammad married his first cousin. Okay, Zainab. And also, I'll just give you a couple of surahs that backs it up. Surah Al-Azab 33:50. Allah permits first cousin marriage. That's why they do it. And also Surah An-Nisa 4:23. Also, Allah permits first cousin marriage.
Without being funny, the law permits, in an act of desperation, for my 6-year-old nephew to poo on the street. But we'd seek to discourage it.
Yeah,
right?
a lot of religions did have first cousin marriage, but they developed and realised there was a problem with it, and now don't do it.
I mean, the argument against first cousin marriage is not theological; it's biological.
Well, no, it's both, actually. It's both. Islam and Christianity is massively different. Christ preached love and forgiveness in the New Covenant. We are Judeo-Christians. Without the Jewish people, we wouldn't exist. Christ was a Jew. Okay? And Christ preached love and forgiveness. Where remember, there's 123 verses in the Quran that tells...
Well, let me... Can I just push...
Hold on. That tells Muslims to kill Christians. I know all the 123 verses.
But can I just argue? Look, I'm not an expert on Islam. I went to a Catholic school, and I've got a GCSE that is specialised in being Catholic theology rather than anything. But is it not true that the Prophet Muhammad grew up in a time of enormous strife, and many of the things that he said were related to that time of difficulty, and that actually he considered physical jihad, violence, to be the least important jihad of them all, and the most important one is the personal struggle within yourself to do the right thing?
Well, then,
Ken's still there.
Andrew, can I just say, if that's what you think, then...
Well, I don't know.
There was one battle called the Battle of the Trench, where in one day they killed 900 Jews, the tribe of Al-Qaza, and they took their wives and children as sex slaves.
Let us not forget...
Sorry, Ken, go for it.
Let us not forget this. Muhammad had 11 wives, and he married Aisha when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage when she was 9.
So,
I don't believe that, by the way, I will say.
Muhammad was a murderer
Sorry, just turn this down for a second. Right, so I'll tell you about why I don't believe the Aisha thing. So I was sat there one day thinking, surely, if Muhammad was a paedophile, whatever, surely he wouldn't have been popular in the Middle East, right? Or, whatever. And then I asked AI, is it possible that Aisha was the daughter of a close political ally of Muhammad and that they never had any children together? And it came back that she was the daughter of, I think, Muhammad Bakri, and that they never had any children. Now, if they were married and had sex for all those years, one would assume they'd had some children. I believe what happened was Muhammad lied about his relationship with Aisha in order for some political reason at the time. So I don't believe he had sex with her.
Andre, can I tell you this then? If that's the case, why is it in Sahih Muslim 1422C that Aisha herself said she married him at 6, and had consummated a marriage at 9 when he was 54.
Sure. I appreciate it does say that. It does say that.
I think that's fine, but it's in the.
Sorry. Just to be clear, because we've had conversations about Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody thinks that child sex is fine on this channel, and if there were, we'd just remove them. I was questioning whether they'd had sex. That was my point.
I understand, but Muslims have no problem with this. Muhammad Hijab himself said that it's subjective to them, that paedophilia is subjective. They don't look at it the way we do.
Well, yes. I mean, the age of consent in Saudi Arabia is 9, but it comes with a major caveat. You have to be married to the person, and the parents have to consent, which never happens.
Andre, let me just close this. Andre.
All right, we've got to go to break. So, Ken, can we just, Ken, what? Go on, Ken.
God prophesied there's a time coming when good will be called evil and evil will be called good. We are now living in those days. We're getting close to the second coming of Jesus. Repent and believe in Jesus, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. By the way, and thanks to Noel.
By the way, somebody has been in touch to accuse me of being a homophobic bigot. I just want to be clear. When I say I don't agree with gay marriage, I believe that you should have a right to legalise your relationship with somebody, with anybody. But a marriage is in a church or a synagogue or a mosque. And as far as
civil partnerships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I dream of a day. So when gay marriage came out, I wrote to my MP opposing state marriage, which is this: I believe that you should be able to draft any contract you want with any person as long as it doesn't break the law, right? But marriage is a religious institution. Now, if you find a church that is willing to do a gay marriage, then that is up to the church. What I disagree with is the terms and conditions of marriage being laid down by the state. I think that it is true to say that if you marry your girlfriend now, there is a financial benefit to her lying about you and saying you're abusive. The courts will hide that because that is the terms and conditions of the contract. I think that formalising your relationship, any relationship, friendship, business, sexual, should be something that can be done by a contract. And then if you want to make vows, you make them before your God. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, so I forgot, we had a complaint about the person saying, the person complaining that I was a homophobic bigot said that they were trying to phone in 03444991000. You should get through. We've got 3 slots available now that lazy git has cleared off some of the calls. And yeah.
Carol in Manchester. Hi, Carol. Morning.
Hi there. Fantastic show. Absolutely fantastic show. Anyway, God, G-O-D, put another O in it, and it's good. So as long as we lose our gods with good, we'll all do fine with it. But that's what I'm not discussing today anyway. But
well, why tell us?
She's putting it out there, man.
I've listened to it, and I just think it's fantastic and that. Where I'm going back now, let's get to the serious stuff, is the politicians.
Yes.
And my blood is boiling.
Yeah.
Absolutely boiling when you keep going on about Angela Rayner.
Yeah.
What is it with you?
They've got no brain.
What is it? What is it? You know, like, what has she done? You know, like...
But she's
got a little bit of charisma, which none of the others have, and that's it.
But she is somebody... I mean, I remember when they were saying how proud they were that a woman with no education, who'd got pregnant when she was 16, who had basically failed at everything in life, was the Deputy Prime Minister. And I thought, yeah, but she might have failed because she's not very good.
Yeah, and then she failed at
Not very good. No, you come down to our area where we live, and I'll be very careful because I know we've got elections going and that.
No, don't worry.
I'm not stupid.
We are in the
No, you're not.
Are we not in Perth? I think we are. I think if you mention it...
No, if you're not in Gorton, you're not in an election.
No, we can't mention it.
No, I'm in Denton.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, where she comes from, I'm okay.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
In Ashton.
Talk about her.
Right, so where she comes from, in Ashton, are you having a laugh? Right, let people come down here, right, and go and interview the people that live in Ashton. Never mind Ashton, where we live.
But what they love doing, they love saying... I saw it with the Labour MPs in Slough and whatever. Oh, the place a dump, I'm doing my best. No, you should be an evangelist. You should say, do you know what? I'm gonna be the member for Ashton in Greater Manchester, and I'm gonna make it fantastic.
Wow.
I'm not going to do that, by the way.
You want to go to Ashton, you want to go to Hyde, right, at the end of the day. You want to go to those areas.
I don't.
And see, exactly, you don't. Right, you want to go into those areas. I've been in where I've lived, like I've said, which I'm allowed to say, I've been brought up in Moss Side, came to Denton, right, in my 20s, brought and born and whatever, good education with it. We've had all this diversity. We've had all this. You need to go to the people like me and get a good, you know. Like,
but what we have been force-fed, and you can turn on LBC now and listen to this. That if you believe that Britain has got worse, then the reason for that is that you are a moronic whinger who doesn't like the European Union. Had we embraced... No, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. Had you embraced the European Union, had you recognised the value of multiculturalism, if you weren't just a sickening racist, you'd understand how much Manchester has got better in the past 20 years.
I don't care, and there's other people that have come, because we're the oldest spell anyway, that came down it. I don't care. I can say whatever I want to say in a decent way.
Yes.
Right? In a decent way that I don't understand how our politics have got the way that they've
because
got.
They know full well they can't justify their record. So what they have to say is everybody against us is a racist. Yeah.
Well, exactly. When I'm a racist anyway, but I've been
well, they've admitted it.
Bred, and there's black in our family. And, you know, like we're all, you know, like I don't.
I mean, the problem is, of course,
we never really had racism in this country. A lot of panellists did mix.
The problem is, of course, with going to somewhere like Birmingham or going to somewhere like Manchester and calling these people racist, it just doesn't work because they know they're not and they don't care.
No, we don't, and we don't.
I mean, if you walked into my local pub in Lee and went, "You're all racist," they'd all just go, "Well, do you know what? We have views on the sexual habits of people from London, and they are way more fruity than anything that could be racist. Well, we think you have a problem with weather, and well, yes."
And it's so insulting, and it is so insulting. You know, like, I mean, we're using skin colours, what's it, black, brown, white, whatever it be, you know, like with it. It's absolutely so insulting to the ordinary person. And that's what I'm saying about politicians. They need to get out of their bloody bubbles.
I think they know what they're doing, though, Carol.
Absolutely,
don't think...
they're bubbles, right?
Yeah.
And come, do you know, I'll tell you now. My friend rang me up the other day, right? I'll be very careful because where we live and whatever and that. And she said, "I can't believe they've come on the streets. I won't say who they are. They've come on the streets. They've not been to the door and knocked on the door, in her door, that she's been here for 40 years and knocked on the door, right?
I don't understand what.
Well, are you talking about the election that we can't talk about? You know, we can't talk about it, you know, because once you mention one person, we've got to mention all the other people, so we can't talk about that.
But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, honestly, they annoy me. Really, 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 really annoy me. And then you.
The job of a politician now is we used to have this, what was it, a delegate theory and Edmund Burke and all this. Yes. What happens now is that the major decisions are decided in groupthink at places like Davos. Then the Prime Minister comes, the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, all the party leaders go to Westminster in order to persuade their MPs to go out and persuade the public to agree with it. That's what happens. Nobody is voting for net zero. Nobody dances down to the ballot box and goes uncontrolled. Do you know there has never been an opinion poll in this country which has supported Britain's policy on immigration?
No.
Never.
We've all been against it.
Never.
Every time.
Every single time. And so what has happened is the job of an MP now is to placate you enough to ensure that they can continue doing what they decided in Davos anyway.
It is. And the thing is, it's like now, I mean, the worst thing that what I speak to my friends with, and it annoys us so much. If you watch Prime Minister's questions times, you know, like the Prime Minister's, what you call it, about half an hour. It's gone to half an hour to 35 minutes and whatever. You know, like, it's unbelievable. They're having a party.
I know. Thanks, Carol. Anyway, we're behind with our breaks. We'll be back with Heather, Michelle, John, Roy, Greg, Yasmin and Grace after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's Andre and Ash. Andre's had to go and point Percy at the porcelain, so let's talk to Joe in Kent. All right, Joe, morning.
All right, Ash, how you doing, son?
All right, man.
Yeah, long time no speak.
Yeah, man.
I was wondering, like, what are you thinking of all these barber shops? Because you're looking, well, but a lot more groomed now.
Yeah, well, because there's so much choice now. There's so many good barbers out there, and then you can get some American candy.
So what's going on? Have we got? What do we think? How long's he got left, Dharma?
Well, I mean, the odds, it's like someone should open a book. I mean, some people saying, you know, it was going to be today, a week, 2 weeks. Some people say, oh, just hang on like he has been anyway. But his backbenchers, they're all turning him against him. He can't be long for this world.
Oh, we can't have the ginger growler in, surely not. Please.
Well, yeah, a lot of people saying, she's sort of a favourite in one way, but she's tainted with her tax things and all the other.
Has she paid it yet or not?
I don't know, but she hadn't last time I looked. So what's going on there? I mean, it wasn't avoidance; this was evasion. Why haven't the authorities been round to chat to her?
I'm not really quite sure, to be quite honest with you. Not sure.
What's going on there? Have you got a party there? Are you people drunk?
No, I wish I had.
Who's that then, yelping in the background?
Not. Yeah, that's the telly, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Right. What are you watching, Cagney and Lacey? What is it? What's that?
So, yeah, I know. Cagney and Lacey, do you remember that?
Yeah, I once was walking around having a fag at Theatreland in London, and I saw Sharon Gless, and I looked at her and I thought it was Bridget Nielsen. I thought, well, I haven't got anything to say to Bridget Nielsen. I thought she wasn't tall enough, and I looked on the poster of the theatre, it said Sharon Gless. So I ran back round where she'd been having a fag and she'd gone in. So I missed my opportunity to meet Sharon Cagney.
Oh, right. I thought she went out with Stallone, didn't she?
Bridget Nielsen did. If you've got any Cagney and Lacey stories, give us a ring, 03444991000. What else is going on, Joe?
Well, I'm going to come and see you soon up in town.
Are you?
Well, hopefully. Yeah, nothing. No, just a little bit dull. It's a bit dull, mate. It's the wrong time of year, but hopefully early spring.
Excellent, man.
Early spring, let's get out and about, and let's get the pubs going, because they're actually dying on their knees. That's what I really want to talk about.
They are. I mean, they're killing the pubs off. Banter's been banned, hasn't it? You can't have banter there, or the landlord gets...
You know what? You've been to my pub, and I'm sitting there at 8:30 in the week, and I'm on my own. There's no one coming in. I might as well shut.
Well, yeah. I mean, that is the trouble. I mean, we get a pub closing every day now. It's our culture, isn't it?
I'm just closing about 5 hours earlier than I used to.
Well, they've brought the drink driving limit now down to you can't have one drink, I think. And so, people used to go to the country pub and, they'd be the designated driver. Now they can't. They're really trying to shut down the British pub because that's where people discuss things, and they don't want people discussing things.
The most beautiful thing is they're letting you open later if you want to. I'd like to let it open, but I wish we need more customers.
Yeah, there's no one coming even in the normal hours now. I mean,
I was busy. I was busier on lockdown than I am at the moment. In the week.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave that one at that then.
You were busier in lockdown, oh yeah.
I think so.
Because you do a lot of Scotch eggs.
Yeah,
Very good.
Scotch eggs. We had a lot living on site.
Yeah. So, but apart from that, business isn't that good, is it, Joe? So you're going to keep the pub up?
I'm going to be still open for you. I think we.
Do you want to advertise the pub? Where is the pub?
Who'd have thought it in Grafton?
This is Joe from the Who. Why your voice has gone up an octave? What's going on?
Oh, I just thought I thought you realised it was me.
No, I didn't realise you sound different, Joe, on the phone. I left my charger in the back of your telly. It's probably still there, the one with the pole in and the jacuzzi.
Don't you know? I sound like an East End job, that's why I'm on the phone. I don't like my voice on the phone.
Oh, well, you come down and see us. A great friend of James Wales, Joe. You were the best man, weren't you?
Yes, I was indeed.
You were?
Yeah, I was indeed. And we miss him, but I hear he's getting the freedom of the City of London, I've heard.
Who, James?
Yeah,
well, he got the MBE, didn't he? That's even better. We were meant to be getting that, but yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right, Joe.
All right, mate.
All right, man. Well, nice to hear from you. And he sounds very different, but yeah, great to hear from you. And I'll see you soon, Joe. Let's go to Heather in Girvan.
Hello, Asher.
All right, Heather.
Andre. I've been following this story about Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, and the latest revelations and the latest photographs of Prince Andrew. I mean,
no, Andrew Battenberg.
Yes,
Andy Battenberg.
With that woman laying down.
Woman, or we don't know how old she was.
And now we're hearing latest revelations about the threesome between Epstein and
that they didn't pay the full amount to the stripper, yes.
And the stripper, and
they didn't pay the full bill.
With Peter Mandelson, and as well, and Sarah Ferguson with her daughters I've never heard that about Sarah Ferguson taking her daughters to.
No, I mean, there's millions of letters and emails that have come out with it. We're finding out more. I mean, there's so much to go through.
I mean, it's totally disgusting. I mean, she's a mother, for Christ's sake. I mean, why on earth is she's taking her two daughters to a sexual abuser's island, where he's been sexually abusing all these underage girls? And Sarah Ferguson did meet Ghislaine Maxwell.
Thanks, Eva, for clearing that up. Anyway, we just talked to Joe from the Who'd Have Thought It down Crafty Green in Kent. A great guy, great pub. Go and visit it. But we've got a show with our mate Dave, Phil Dave, who goes around. It's called Down the Local. And let's have a little taster of what goes on down the local with Phil Dave.
Hello and welcome to Talk Down the Local. Tonight we're at McCafferty's in Epsom in Surrey.
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation. I think it's almost a plea for help.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it. Actually, I quite like Suits.
People coming to the pub and drinking 0% alcoholic drinks, they're still coming to the pub and doing trade.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going, but I have 0% beers and I feel
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Now, listen, I've been saying this for a while. Oh, by the way, I stayed out of the studio for a little bit because Asher was on a roll. It didn't take that long to go to the toilet, just to be clear.
It takes longer when you get older, though.
No, I haven't defiled the place. OK, so don't give it 15 minutes, it's fine.
Half an hour.
No, niet. OK, so let me just say to you, I am a part owner of the Windsor and Eton Brewery, and I want to complain that Phil Dave has not organised down the pub in my brewery.
Down the local.
Down the local, right. What we need is we have got the most prestigious and rarest beer in the world. It is Russian Imperial Stout, originally made for Peter the Great. It is brewed in Windsor, has been for hundreds of years, and it is by appointment to His Majesty King Charles III, King Charles II, and Charles III. Sorry, and I just think that we should get Phil Dave down on Thursday, and we should give him the Russian Imperial Stout to try.
So you're trying to arrange a piss up in a brewery?
Yeah, it's the rarest beer in the world. This year, only 27 bottles were produced. We will get him some if he comes down to our brewery and has a go.
So catch Down the Local every Thursday from 1 p.m. with Dave, Phil Dave. Right, let's go to Greg.
They named him Rodney after Dave.
Greg, near Glasgow. We're not in Glasgow. Greg.
Good evening, Ash and Andrew.
Morning.
I'd like to talk to you about Rayner. Like, she's no ideas of what she wants to be for this new...
Well, apparently the Daily Mail has just reported that a former Deputy Angela Rayner left government after underpaying stamp duty on a new property and told friends she was ready to launch a leadership campaign. So here we go. A spokesman for Rayner said, "We don't recognise these claims, so that means it's probably true."
She's got no ideas, but I think she wants to be the Prime Minister just because she's got to rise in this Prime Minister's pension. Like, once you're Prime Minister...
Oh, you make a lot more than that. Look at Tony Blair. He doesn't care about his pension. He's worth hundreds of millions.
What do you say when she's got the Prime Minister's job? She says, "I've made it for life. I've made it."
Yeah, but the pension's nothing compared to the millions they make when they leave office. I mean, look at Tony Blair. In fact, started with Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, once they get that top job, then that's them.
Yeah, they can print money. Anything else? So where are you near Glasgow? What's it called where you are?
Just near Glasgow.
It's just called near Glasgow.
Is it East Kilbride?
No, that's what it's called.
Rachel Reeves has got a rise on being a minister too.
Yeah, well, yeah, but she's not...
Rachel Reeves, she came to this building, I looked at her, and the thing that makes me laugh is, Rachel from Accounts is just the best nickname ever. She's just like... quite well turned out in a kind of plain Jane type way, you know. And she's just a bit of a she's not a bad person, but she's not great either. She's just an average. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but not on a CV. She's a great, and she's got rid of the Richard III look.
She's your average wolf in sheep's clothing.
That's right, which is the Fabian Society, isn't it? That's the...
But I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them, and I'm not a midget for.
But anyway, apologies if you're offended by the language. Okay, what do we want to do next? Oh, can we get Yasmin, the teenage witch?
She's here. Yasmin, morning.
Hiya, darling.
You all right? Have you got any readings, anything you need to...
Yasmin.
Actually, about Starmer. What's going to happen with Starmer?
No, forget that for a minute. Yasmin, I'm going to come to Manchester. Do you want to buy a pint? Do you want to have a pint?
I don't drink, love.
No, you can't do that.
So tell us about...
I'm not asking you out.
When are you coming to Manchester?
I'm going to a part of Manchester we can't discuss on the air.
Oh,
no, I'm doing it for Jen. No, actually, we can discuss this. I'm going to pop down to by-election for the final weekend, just do a bit of filming and whatever. That will be the 22nd of, what is it, February?
Yeah, I can come.
You don't have to.
What day is it?
Well, all right. So, I don't know, Saturday, Sunday or something.
What pub is it? What pub is it?
We'll go to the Britain's Protection. I had a friend of mine who went in the Britain's Protection pub, and there was a sign up saying, "We have Beaujolais Nouveau from this season." And he walked in and he went, "Have you got the Beaujolais Nouveau 86? And she went, "Oh, I don't know, I'll look in the cellar." She came back, she went, "We've only got Beaujolais Nouveau for this year." And the guy at the bar went, "You're a bit of a connoisseur, you aren't you?" New Beaujolais. Have you got the 86? No. Anyway.
Jasmine, tell us, Starmer, how long has Starmer got, Jasmine?
I get a 3 around it, probably 3 weeks. But I feel he's doing a lot of deals now before he's shunted off. I think about 3 weeks. But the problem is, I feel if to get a female leader, I feel it'll be even worse.
Well,
and I'm not
well, probably, yeah.
against women. I'm not against women. I just look at them and I think, have they got a brain cell between them?
Yeah, but it's the same with the men there as well. When you look at David Lammy, Miliband looks deranged. I mean, look, they all look.
I think most of them are nobodies. I think the problem that you've got with Miliband will destroy the wealth of this country. He is a religious fanatic,
as he is right now.
He's already done it. But what concerns me at the moment is this Shabana Mahmood woman. She is trying to do surveillance all over England. So
Yes. Panopticon. She wants a panopticon.
What's that?
Yeah,
We're watched everywhere. It's like 1984. She thinks that's a great thing for us all to be watched at all times.
That's her dream.
At least she's coming out and saying what all the others we know think.
But
Yasmin, here's the issue. Asher and I and you think of ourselves as knowledgeable people, but we are in fact idiots. I'm going to explain why we're idiots. Because the left are not popular in this country. Nobody wants mass immigration. Nobody wants net zero. Nobody wants trans in our schools. Nobody wants puberty blocks. Nobody wants... What they always do is they successfully get the levers of power. And that's what they've been very good at. Do you remember in the 1980s when the Labour Party got taken over by militant tendency? It wasn't that there were many of them, but they turned up to everything, right? Yeah. We're going to have to start actually dealing with things like Shabana Mahmood, right? What if Labour get out of this government, having opened the door to unlimited immigration for 20 years, or whatever it was, 1997, 30 years. OK, if they've opened uncontrolled immigration, if they've ensured that democracy is abolished as a result of a quangocracy, and they ensure that government officials can spy on you everywhere, and they've got rid of jury trial, actually that will put them in power, whoever is elected at the next election, for decades.
But they were in power when the Tories were in power for the last 14 years. They weren't really in power because Blair had set up the Constitution. The Labour had already infiltrated all the institutions which blocked the Tories. They could have done something about it, but they carried on with the Blairism product. So Tony Blair has set up the Constitution, so our sovereignty doesn't really exist.
Whichever way you vote, nothing changes.
Well, first of all, with this Shabana Mahmood, they wanted to bring that facial recognition. That isn't for immigrants. That's for the locals.
Yes, it's already in. It's already here.
Yeah, and the electronic ID, the illegal immigrant gangmasters were jumping for joy because they recognised it was going to make it easier to bring in illegal immigrants to the UK, because you can hack it, you can steal it, you can copy it. What it was going to also do was ensure that a national ID card to put you under surveillance and me under surveillance for not saying that people with a penis are women.
Which they'll be able to do without digital ID because of these facial recognition cameras, which are basically
But I also believe that everybody should vote in Britain. Everybody.
They don't really want
that. I think that should be a legal requirement.
Yeah, but they don't want that. They rely on their, their vote, their postal votes.
But what you can do, the reason they want mandatory voting is very simply this: if the vote changes nothing, then the problem you have is nobody bothers voting, and that embarrasses them. So if they can force, what we need to do is two things. Right, well, let me give you my constitutional reform. See what you think. I think that you should elect the Prime Minister and the House of Commons separately. Right? So what you then have is well, OK, I'm going to vote for my local Member of Parliament, whoever that is, but also I'm going to vote for Nigel Farage, Kevin Badenoch for Prime Minister. There are issues around how you replace these people, but OK. Point number one. Point number two, there should be something on your ballot paper that says reopen nominations. Those of you familiar with student union elections know that you can vote for nobody. You can say, we've seen all four candidates, we think they're all crap, and we want to reopen nominations and have another go at the election. That would be a brilliant change. And I guess the next change has to be you have to return powers to Parliament. It has to be a real Parliament. It has to actually make some decisions.
I mean, he goes on about he got a mandate and only 1 in 5 of the electorate voted for Starmer. No one wanted him, only 1 in 5 voted.
But hold on a minute. I don't believe the last election because we had a postal strike on at that time. Right. And I genuinely don't believe all the ballot papers were counted.
Yeah, but most of the postal votes go to Labour anyway, don't they?
Most go to the Conservatives, actually.
Do they?
Yeah, traditionally. The reason is because Labour brought in, let's be honest, Labour brought in postal votes on demand because it was going to be easier to get family voting in closed ethnic communities. But the reality is there are far more little old ladies than there are closed Asian communities, and that's just a fact. And actually, little old ladies who are sick on the day but will register 3 months in advance are just massive. What irritates me about it is that the Conservatives know that postal voting on demand causes. Give me a second. They know that postal voting on demand is a deliberate attempt to allow people to have electoral fraud, but they know that they've got more people voting on those ballots, so they allow Labour to do it.
My mum voted by electoral vote, by letter, a postal vote for Nigel Farage. She got a voting paper sent back to her.
Yeah, well, you can't vote for Nigel Farage in Manchester.
No, she was in Bury.
Well, he wasn't standing in Bury.
No, he was.
That's probably the problem.
Reform was.
I remember what happened to me once. I was a paper candidate. I ran for election in Wigan Council in Hindley. And hello to everyone in Hindley, but in my particular ward, the only middle class voters were the only middle class voters were the ones on remand in the prison. Right. So I walked up and this big Labour, the traditional big trade union fatty, and he'd not done anything for years. He goes, "Look at him, bloody Walker. He's not been seen in the ward." I went, "Seen in the ward? I'm not visiting that dump unless you get me an armoured column." He went, "You'll never represent these people." I went, "That's correct. I don't wish to represent them."
Anyway, look, we got 1 minute left. Let's quickly get Michelle in London on. Hi, Michelle. We got a minute.
Hiya, gentlemen. Andrea, I love your hair. I've been listening to the news. Great show tonight.
It's good hair,
your
actually, yeah.
form. But what is exhausting me, mentally and physically, is all the excuses for these politicians.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know how life is. And it's all excuses. These people should be brought